Chapter 897. With a squeak, the door of Sia's room was pushed open by Emo Chingyun. An erotic picture came into his eyes. Sia's face was flushed. Her coat was loosened, revealing her snow-white shoulders and sexy collarbone. Her plump breasts pushed the undergarment high, which was very attractive. The person chasing Sia was a young man with an evil smile. He was raising his hand to tear Sia's coat. After seeing this scene, Emo Chingyun frowned, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. This kind of situation was really beyond his expectations. Could it be that Sia had sent him a distress signal so that he could see an explosive performance? Soon, Emo Chingyun denied his idea. At this moment, Sia's expression was somewhat unconscious. After seeing this scene, Emo Chingyun could naturally guess the truth of the matter with his wisdom. It should be that Sia found that she was drugged and began to lose her consciousness. So, she sent a signal for help to Emo Chingyun. After understanding Sia's idea, Emo Chingyun looked at Fang Yuan with increasingly cold eyes. This person not only had something to do with the kidnapping of Wu Dun, but also wanted to take Sia's chastity by this despicable means. This kind of person was too shameful. Everyone had the right to kill him. When Emo Chingyun looked at Fang Yuan, Sia saw Emo Chingyun's appearance. A surprised smile appeared on her face. Then, Sia quickened her pace and directly threw herself into Emo Chingyun's arms. She smiled sweetly and said, "You are here." As soon as she finished speaking, Sia lost all reason. Her gaze became blurry as she snuggled into Emo Chingyun's embrace like a little bird, her jade-like hands beginning to fiddle with Emo Chingyun's clothes. "Miss Sia, are you okay?" Seeing Sia's behavior, Emo Chingyun suddenly had a headache. He helped Sia up with one hand and asked. However, she responded to Emo Chingyun with more enthusiasm. Sia's body seemed to be boneless. Her whole body was attached to Emo Chingyun's body. Suddenly, Emo Chingyun felt that his chest was pressed by two warm and soft things. This, sensing the strange feeling in his chest, Emo Chingyun couldn't help but smile bitterly. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. Although he had never eaten pork, he had seen pigs run. Of course, he knew what was pressed against him. She was tempting him to commit a crime. Although Emo Chingyun was a supreme stage expert in his previous life, and had also fallen in love with Long Hanyan in this life, he was still a rookie without any actual combat experience. The difficulty of this challenge was simply too high for him. Of course, compared with Emo Chingyun's depression, Fang Yuan was about to explode with anger. The woman he was about to sleep with snuggled up in the arms of others at this moment, and it seemed that she was going to sleep with him. This was simply a humiliation to him. It seemed that he was not as good as Emo Chingyun. "Boy, you are courting death." Fang Yuan was so angry that he directly took out a long sword and stabbed Emo Chingyun. Facing Fang Yuan's sword, Emo Chingyun didn't dare to be careless. He quickly took out the scorching halberd to resist. Clang! When the long sword and the scorching halberd collided, it immediately made a clear sound, and a strong repulsive force emerged. Under this repulsive force, Fang Yuan was shocked to step back several steps. Then he slowly stabilized his body. Compared with Fang Yuan's situation, although Emo Chingyun did not step back, his body also shook a little. "You have some ability." Seeing that he was at a disadvantage in the fight with Emo Chingyun, Fang Yuan's expression became more gloomy. He was very clear about his own strength. Even if the first and the second on the Divine Land Heroes list joined hands, they couldn't resist one move of his. At present, a boy at the peak of the 8th hurdle of Celestial Strength Realm actually had some advantages in the fight with him, which really surprised him. "If that's the case, I'll play with you." Seeing Emo Chingyun's strength, Fang Yuan stopped looking down on him and waved the long sword in his hand again. Shura swordsmanship, red flame storm. Under Fang Yuan's continuous waving of the sword, the red storm with surging heat waves quickly attacked Emo Chingyun. Wherever the scarlet flaming storm passed, the surrounding chairs and floor were instantly burned to ashes. It followed like a shadow. In the face of Fang Yuan's sword, Mo Qingyun did not directly block it, but held Xie and constantly dodged. Swish. What made Mo Qingyun headache was that when he held Xie and dodged, Xie tore his clothes and exposed his strong chest muscles. It's not a way to go on like this. Even if I am not killed by this person, I will be teased to death by Xie. Seeing Xie's behavior, Mo Qingyun suddenly had a headache and finally understood what was the most difficult thing to accept a beauty's favor. Although he was a rookie, he was also a normal man. Facing Xie's behavior, it was difficult for him not to have any reaction. Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun had a plan in mind. He must take Xie away from here immediately. After Mo Qingyun made a plan in mind, he put away the scorching halberd and raised his hand to take out dozens of talismans. After taking out these talismans, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate to activate them and bombard Fang Yuan. Bang, bang, bang. Then, under the activation of Mo Qingyun, these talismans burst one after another, bursting out an amazing momentum. Talismans? Looking at the talismans that came to him at a high speed, Fang Yuan's expression suddenly changed and his face was full of shock. Regarding talismans, he had come across some records in the library of the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain by chance. He knew that talismans were a kind of powerful attack magic weapon, which did not exist in the Tianhan continent. At present, seeing that Mo Qingyun had so many talismans, how could Fang Yuan not be surprised? Immediately, Fang Yuan looked at Mo Qingyun with some changes in his eyes. Boy, you're only at the peak of the Heaven Dipper 8th stage, but you're able to compete with me. Moreover, you have a mysterious talisman. I'm getting more and more curious about you. Fang Yuan said with a sarcastic smile. Of course, when Fang Yuan was talking, he did not hesitate and quickly waved his long sword to resist the attack of the talismans. When Fang Yuan resisted the attack of the talismans, a terrifying momentum suddenly appeared and approached here at a high speed. No, there is a strong man at the peak of the magical power approaching. After sensing this momentum, Mo Qingyun suddenly looked shocked and did not dare to continue to stay. The gate of transmission. Without any hesitation, Mo Qingyun unleashed his martial soul's superpower, the teleportation gate. As soon as the teleportation gate formed, Mo Qingyun walked in with Xie in his arms. His body disappeared from the spot. Transmission. Seeing that Mo Qingyun walked into the gate of transmission and then disappeared directly, Fang Yuan was surprised again. Chapter 898. Swish. A black figure came to Fang Yuan's side and asked, "Junior fellow apprentice Fang, what happened?" "Senior fellow apprentice, someone came to kidnap Xie just now. I wanted to stop him, but I didn't expect that he was so strange that he ran away." For Iron Wing's inquiry, Fang Yuan fabricated a lie to cover up his ugly behavior and said, "Senior fellow apprentice, the person just now has a mysterious origin and has many talismans. We can't let him run away." Talismans? Iron Wing's expression was slightly surprised. Obviously, he was surprised by Fang Yuan's words. He had reincarnated in the Tianhan continent for decades and had never seen anyone use talismans. Now someone suddenly used them, which was too surprising for him. Is it the Talisman Star General? Iron Wing frowned slightly and guessed the identity of Mo Qingyun. Soon, Iron Wing denied his guess. He frowned and said to himself, "In the last Great War, the Talisman Star General sacrificed herself to summon the talisman ancestor of primitive talisman. It should be impossible for her to survive. So, who is this person?" "Senior fellow apprentice Tai, shall we chase him now?" Looking at Iron Wing beside him, Fang Yuan's expression was uncertain, and he asked Iron Wing for his opinion. "The person's origin is mysterious. Of course, we can't let him run away. You go to call Lang Ping. I have something to ask him." Iron Wing's eyes flashed. He looked into the distance with deep eyes and said to Fang Yuan beside him, "Okay. I'll go." Hearing Iron Wing's words, Fang Yuan walked out of the room and went to inform Lang Ping to meet Iron Wing. After Fang Yuan left the room, Iron Wing frowned again and continued to guess. Who is this person? Is he a person of the Talisman clan from the Wild Continent? Or a person of the Xianlu of the Seven Ancient Roads? After thinking for a while, Iron Wing walked out of the room and was ready to ask Lang Ping. After a while, Raging Waves Restaurant. A young man in tattered clothes carried a woman with a flushed face as he quickly walked into Wild Wave Restaurant. Young lord, what are you? Seeing the two of them walk into the restaurant, the manager of the restaurant revealed a shocked expression and asked the young man. Sha Yunjin had to admit that Mo Qingyun's performance at this moment had instantly broken his understanding of Mo Qingyun. He initially thought Mo Qingyun had something important to attend to at the city lord's mansion. What was the result? However, Mo Qingyun had brought back a beautiful and alluring woman. Moreover, both of them were disheveled. Looking at Mo Qingyun's current appearance, Sha Yunjin couldn't help but have a strange thought. Could it be that Mo Qingyun wanted to have sex with this woman, but was caught red-handed by this woman's family? Young lord is really not an ordinary person. This kind of behavior is not something that ordinary people can learn. After thinking so, Sha Yunjin looked at Mo Qingyun with a trace of admiration in his eyes and sighed inwardly. Sure enough, he is willing to break his head and bleed his blood. He just wants to sleep with a girl. Even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a sea of fire, I will live next door and climb over the wall. Mo Qingyun didn't know what Sha Yunjin was thinking. Otherwise, his expression would be very interesting. Yunjin, immediately arrange a guest room for me. I have something important to do. Seeing Sha Yunjin in front of him, Mo Qingyun didn't think much and directly ordered him. Hearing Mo Qingyun's request, Sha Yunjin was stunned again, thinking that he had misheard. Then, Sha Yunjin showed an understanding expression and said with a smirk, "This subordinate understands. I will arrange it for you. Young lord, please come with me." A moment later, Sha Yunjin arranged a good guest room for Mo Qingyun. The space was large enough and the props were complete. Could be described as an excellent environment for sex. It seems that the young lord didn't have enough fun in the city lord's mansion. Now he wants to continue. Coming out of Mo Qingyun's room, Sha Yunjin couldn't help but sigh. With a curious expression, he said to himself, I don't know who this girl is in the city lord's mansion. Maid? Or miss? Or madam? Next, Sha Yunjin returned to the counter of the Wild Waves restaurant with evil thoughts. In the room, Rip. Mo Qingyun had just helped Xie to the bed when his clothes were torn again, revealing his strong muscles. Seeing his clothes torn apart, Mo Qingyun's brows furrowed tightly as he thought of a way to deal with it. Judging from Miss Xie's behavior, she should have been poisoned with some kind of aphrodisiac. I wonder what kind of aphrodisiac could be so powerful? After thinking for a while, Mo Qingyun no longer thought about it and began to check the situation of Xie. Heart-absorbing ecstasy incense. After a round of examination, Mo Qingyun suddenly looked surprised. He knew what kind of poison Xie was poisoned with. After this discovery, Mo Qingyun frowned and said to himself with embarrassment, according to the inherited memory of the Tianhun demon clan, there are two ways to detoxify the poison of the heart-absorbing ecstasy incense. One is to make love with the poisoned person in the rain. The second is to refine the pure heart-dew waking liquid. Right now, he couldn't bring himself to let Mo Qingyun's Xie drink the rain. This was really taking advantage of someone's precarious situation. If he did so, what was the difference between him and Fang Yuan? Although Mo Qingyun also admitted in his heart that Xie was very tempting and he couldn't help but want to eat her. However, in the end, Mo Qingyun still defeated the desire with reason and decided to use the second way to treat Xie. After all, he was the apprentice of the alchemy lord. It was not difficult for him to refine the pure heart-dew waking liquid. Then, Mo Chingyun began to refine the pure heart-dew waking liquid to remove the heart-absorbing ecstasy incense in Sia's body. Fortunately, Mo Chingyun happened to have all the materials for refining the pure heart-absorbing ecstasy incense. Since the medicinal materials for refining elixirs were complete, Mo Chingyun no longer delayed and began to refine the pure heart-absorbing ecstasy incense. This kind of thing should be done sooner rather than later. The sooner he removed the heart-absorbing ecstasy incense for Sia, the sooner she would get out of danger. After a few hours, a faint fragrance was emitted from the holy beast tripod. After smelling it, it made people feel refreshed. Seeing this, Mo Chingyun took out a jade bottle and put the pure heart-absorbing ecstasy incense in it. The pure heart-absorbing ecstasy incense needs to be bathed. It seems that I need to prepare a bathtub. After putting the pure heart-absorbing ecstasy incense in it, Mo Chingyun got up and walked out of the room. He told Sha Yunjin, "Yunjin, ask someone to bring a bathtub and some water." Bathtub? Water? After Sha Yunjin heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately understood and said, "Yes, this subordinate will do it." A moment later, Sha Yunjin personally brought a bathtub and said to Mo Chingyun with an evil smile, "Young lord, this is the largest bathtub in the restaurant. Even if 2 people sit in it at the same time, it won't be crowded." When Sha Yunjin's words fell, he no longer stayed and immediately got up and walked out of the room. 2 people sitting in it at the same time won't be crowded? Mo Chingyun's expression was slightly stunned. He did not understand Sha Yunjin's meaning for a while, but soon he showed a depressed expression. Chapter 899. Seeing that everything was ready, Mo Chingyun threw away the distracting thoughts in his mind and poured the heart-cleansing dew-awakening liquid into the bathtub. Seeing that the antidote was successfully concocted, Mo Chingyun moved Sia out of the 5 directions small pagoda and carried her to sit in the bathtub. Helping Sia sit down in the bathtub, Mo Chingyun frowned slightly and revealed a troubled expression. Although soaking in the heart-cleansing dew-awakening liquid could dissolve the toxicity of the ecstasy aphrodisiac fragrance, there was a very strange requirement. That was, the person who was poisoned must be soaked in it naked. This really gave Mo Chingyun a headache. Could it be that he had to undress Sia? "Miss Sia, I'm sorry to offend you." After pondering for a while, Mo Chingyun stopped thinking about it and began to undress Sia. Looking at Sia slowly revealing her snow-white skin, Mo Chingyun couldn't help but feel his mouth and tongue go dry. His blood spurted and his heartbeat accelerated to the extreme. This kind of thing was really too king exciting. Fortunately, after a fierce internal struggle, Mo Chingyun finally maintained his rationality. Creak. After everything was done, Mo Chingyun didn't dare to stay any longer and directly got up and walked out of the room. After coming out of Sia's room, Mo Chingyun didn't walk in but silently guarded outside the room. After an unknown amount of time, the sound of water came from inside the room. Another moment passed. With a creak, the door was opened again and Sia walked out of the room. Now she was wearing an ink satin gauze dress and a purple fairy dress that dragged on the ground. Her hair was tied up with a silver pearl hairpin. At this moment, Sia exuded a dignified and gentle temperament when she raised her hands and stamped her feet. "Mr. Mo, thank you for saving me this time. Sia will remember this kindness in her heart." Seeing Mo Chingyun guarding outside the door, Sia's pretty face showed a trace of joy and she slightly bowed to Mo Chingyun. "Miss Sia, there's no need to be so polite. It's nothing." In response to Sia's gratitude, Mo Chingyun felt a wave of guilt rise in his heart. Just now, he'd had a feast for his eyes. Seeing Mo Chingyun's burning gaze, Sia's pretty face blushed slightly. She said shyly and reluctantly, "Mr. Mo, since the poison in my body has been removed, I'll bid you farewell now." Seeing that Sia was about to leave the Wild Waves restaurant, Mo Chingyun frowned slightly and suggested to her, "Miss Sia, you've been rescued by me. The Kanglan City's City Lord's mansion won't let this matter rest. They're definitely searching for us right now. I'm afraid it's not safe for you to leave now. Mr. Mo, thank you for your kindness. Sia cracked a smile when she heard Mo Qingyun's words of concern, and then she said in a slightly helpless manner, however, if I'm with you, then your whereabouts will definitely be exposed very quickly. So, it's best that I leave Raging Wave Restaurant. Miss Sia, you don't have to think too much about this. Even if they don't come looking for me, I'll naturally go looking for them. Hearing Sia's concerns, Mo Qingyun waved his hand without hesitation and said something that reassured Sia. After comforting Sia, Mo Qingyun paused for a moment. Then, for some reason, he said again, if you don't mind, I'm willing to protect you for the rest of your life. At this moment, Mo Qingyun didn't know why he would say something like that. Could it be because I saw Sia's body that I came up with this idea? After a moment of confusion, Mo Qingyun secretly guessed that this was the only reasonable reason. I can protect you for the rest of your life. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Sia's body couldn't help but tremble. Her expression became excited, and the corners of her eyes sparkled. After a short moment of excitement, Sia controlled her emotions and said gently to Mo Qingyun, Mr. Mo, I'm not so bad that I can't differentiate between good and evil. I know that your previous actions were all to save me, so I won't blame you for this. You don't have to be too concerned about this either. From Sia's point of view, Mo Qingyun's current actions were probably because he saw her body, so he wanted to make up for it. At this moment, before Mo Qingyun could explain, waves of shocking aura descended upon the Wild Waves restaurant. They're here. Sensing the powerful aura, Mo Qingyun's expression became serious. He said to Sia, Miss Sia, come with me to meet them. It'll solve your worries. Okay. Sia nodded and secretly clenched her fists, as if she had made a decision. Young lord. At this moment, Qi Lian and the others arrived one after another. They stood in front of Mo Qingyun and bowed. Let's go out and take a look. After nodding to Qi Lian and the others in front of him, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He stood up and walked out of the Wild Waves restaurant. It didn't take long for Mo Qingyun's group to arrive outside Raging Billow restaurant, and they saw Tai Yi's group surrounding the restaurant to the point that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Mo Qingyun, it's actually you. Seeing Mo Qingyun in front of the crowd, Huang Fuqingsong and Lang Ping were shocked and exclaimed. They obviously didn't expect that the person who saved Sia was actually the person they were looking for, Mo Qingyun. It had to be said that this scene was too coincidental. Boy, let's see where you can escape to this time. Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of him, Fong Yuan smiled coldly. He turned to Lang Ping and praised, Lang Ping, you did a good job this time. I will reward you later. Thank you, Master Fong Yuan. It's what I should do. Hearing Fong Yuan's praise, Lang Ping suddenly felt flattered and quickly expressed his loyalty to Fong Yuan. Seeing Lang Ping's actions, Sia's gaze towards him was immediately filled with intense disappointment and disdain. She said mockingly, Lang Ping, haven't you always been doing this for the sake of reviving your empire? Haven't you been thinking about restoring the Moon Eclipse Wolf clan to its former glory? Now you are willing to be a servant of others. Can you restore the country and restore the glory of the Moon Eclipse Wolf clan? Hearing Sia's words, everyone looked at Lang Ping unconsciously. They were surprised by Lang Ping's ambition. Lang Ping, I didn't know that you were so ambitious. Fong Yuan glanced at Lang Ping contemptuously and said sarcastically. His expression was full of disdain. Master Fong Yuan, you are joking. That's just a lie that I used to coax Sia. Now I just want to be a good servant. Hearing Fong Yuan's question, Lang Ping's expression trembled. He quickly expressed his thoughts and loyalty. I hope you remember what you said now. Hearing Lang Ping's words, Fong Yuan showed a satisfied expression. He turned to look at Iron Wing and asked, Senior Fellow Apprentice Tai, What should we do now? Iron Wing didn't answer Fong Yuan's question. Instead, he stared at Emo Qingyun and said, "Are you a member of the Tianhun Demon Clan?" The Tianhun Demon Clan. Hearing Iron Wing's words, Xie and Lang Ping were surprised. They were surprised by Iron Wing's words and even more surprised by Emo Qingyun's origin. The Tianhun Demon Clan was the absolute king race on the Wild Continent. It was far from their race. Chapter 900. You can actually see through my true form? Emo Qingyun was shocked by Iron Wing's words. He carefully sized up Iron Wing. While Emo Qingyun was sizing up Iron Wing, purple light flashed in his eyes and he emitted a sharp aura. Not only that, but the 10 soul stars on his glabello were also flashing. Quasi-10-star Heavenly Soul Demon. Iron Wing was shocked when he saw the soul stars between Emo Qingyun's eyebrows. He was shocked by the strength of Emo Qingyun's Heavenly Soul Demon bloodline. In the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan, Heavenly Soul Demon Juniors who were 7 stars and above would be nurtured as core members. If they had a 9-star bloodline density, they would be made the heir of the clan's royal family. They would have thousands of halos on their body. Now, Emo Qingyun's bloodline density had actually reached the level of a quasi-10-star bloodline. How could Iron Wing not be shocked? In his opinion, with Emo Qingyun's bloodline density, once he returned to the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan, he would definitely be nurtured by the entire clan. With Emo Qingyun's bloodline density, it's impossible for him to come to the Heavenly Soul continent alone. There should be a Heavenly Soul Demon Clan expert secretly protecting him. After seeing Emo Qingyun's bloodline density, Iron Wing's mind was filled with thoughts. He guessed countless possibilities. Then, Iron Wing's expression became serious. He looked at Emo Qingyun with a hint of fear in his eyes. Although he didn't know who the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan expert accompanying Emo Qingyun was, he was sure of one thing. The other party only needed a glance to kill all of them. Young Lord, he is Iron Wing's Star General. While Emo Qingyun was sizing up the Iron Wing, Savage Beast whispered into Emo Qingyun's ears and told him about the Iron Wing's identity. Hearing Savage Beast's words, Emo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He looked at Iron Wing indifferently and said, "You are Iron Wing's Star General? You actually know my identity?" The Iron Wing was shocked by Emo Qingyun's words. He was now even more convinced of his theory. It seems that this brat came to the Tianhun continent in search of the old master's inheritance. If that's the case, then he must have someone from the old master's bloodline accompanying him. At this moment, the more Iron Wing thought about it, the more convinced he was that his guess was correct. While the Iron Wing was still shocked and thinking about how to deal with this situation, Savage Beast walked up to him and said, "Star General Iron Wing, long time no see. Do you still recognize me? You are a barbarian? Why are you here?" Seeing Savage Beast walk up to him, the Iron Wing's expression became even more shocked. He felt like his brain wasn't enough to process this. "Star General Iron Wing, this is my new master, and also the successor of the old master," Savage Beast explained to the Iron Wing's shock and confusion. He then said, "Also, let me tell you one more thing. Other than me, there are also the 9 temples and Heixian assisting the young lord. I hope you can also assist the young lord." "What?" "He is the successor of the old master. You, the 9 temples, and Heixian are all following him." Hearing Savage Beast's persuasion, the Iron Wing was immediately shocked, and a sudden clap of thunder sounded in his mind. Savage Beast's words really scared him, and it made him even more certain of his guess. With this kid's current strength, it's impossible for him to make Savage Beast, the 9 temples, and Heixian submit. There's only one possibility. Seeing the Iron Wing's uncertain expression, Savage Beast was silent for a moment before continuing to persuade. "Iron Wing, you should have seen it too. The young lord's talent is even greater than the old master's. He definitely has the qualifications for us to follow him. You must consider it carefully. After Savage Beast's persuasion, the Iron Wing was more hesitant in his heart, considering whether to submit to Emo Qingyun or not. Seeing the Iron Wing's expression, Fang Yuan suddenly panicked. He nervously persuaded the Iron Wing, "Senior fellow apprentice Iron Wing, don't be bewitched by him. With your talent and cultivation, how can you submit to a kid with the cultivation of Celestial 8 Hurdle? Also, as long as we go all out, none of them can escape today." Fang Yuan was very scared now. He was worried that the Iron Wing would really submit to Emo Qingyun and follow Emo Qingyun's orders from now on. If that was the case, what should he do next? With the strength of the Iron Wing, if he went all out, even the Kanglan City Lord with the cultivation of the middle stage of Celestial 9 Hurdle could not save his life. Therefore, now Fang Yuan's idea was very clear. That was, he absolutely could not let the Iron Wing submit to Emo Qingyun. However, some things always went against one's wishes. The more you worried about it, the more it would happen. Now, when Fang Yuan prayed to the Bodhisattva in his heart, with a serious expression, the Iron Wing slowly approached Emo Qingyun. He half knelt to Emo Qingyun and said, "I, the Iron Wing, pay my respects to the young lord." After a struggle in the heart of the Iron Wing, he finally decided to submit to Emo Qingyun. He was very clear in his heart that he would eventually step out of the Tianhun continent and could not be trapped in this small world. Therefore, in the long run, following Emo Qingyun was the wisest choice. He was different from Fang Yuan. He did not know how noble Missouri Qingyun's identity was in the Tianhun demon clan. Moreover, what really worried the Iron Wing was the strongman of the Tianhun demon clan behind Emo Qingyun. Now that he knew the identity of Emo Qingyun, wasn't it a joke to ask him to kill Emo Qingyun? It was estimated that as soon as he had the idea, he would be immediately killed on the spot without any room to resist. You don't have to be so polite. Get up. Looking at the Iron Wing half knelt in front of him, Emo Qingyun smiled and waved his hand. An unexpected surprise rose in his heart. He did not expect that the Iron Wing was willing to submit to him under the persuasion of Savage Beast. With the Iron Wing following him, the strength behind him would have a qualitative improvement. "Thank you very much, young lord." After the Iron Wing stood up, he glanced at Fang Yuan and others, and asked Emo Qingyun, "Young lord, these are my former junior fellow apprentices. We are acquaintances. Can you spare them once? It's impossible to let them go, but for your sake I can give them a chance to live." Emo Qingyun refused the Iron Wing's request without hesitation. He knew the principle of letting the tiger go back to the mountain. However, in order to appease the Iron Wing, he still made some concessions, so that the Iron Wing would have a sense of belonging. After responding to the Iron Wing, Emo Qingyun pondered for a moment and then said to the Iron Wing, "Next, the two of them will fight with me separately. If they can take 10 moves from me, I will spare their lives today." "Thank you very much, young lord." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, the Iron Wing did not say more. He bowed to thank Emo Qingyun. In his opinion, Emo Qingyun's actions at this moment could already be considered as the greatest compromise. Chapter 901. Emo Qingyun, you are too self-righteous. Seeing Emo Qingyun's decision, Huang Fu Qingsong showed a cold smile. He looked at Emo Qingyun and said proudly, "With my cultivation in the middle stage of the 9th hurdle of Celestial Strong Realm, the 57th on the Divine Land Talents list, I can't take 10 moves from you. Are you kidding?" Compared with Huang Fu Qingsong's complacency, Fang Yuan frowned and dared not to be careless. He had fought with Emo Qingyun. He was very clear about Emo Qingyun's strength, which was not as simple as it seemed. In addition, what Fang Yuan really worried about was whether Emo Qingyun used all his strength when he fought with him last time. After thinking of this, Fang Yuan showed a serious expression and reminded Huang Fu Qingsong, "Junior fellow apprentice Qingsong, I have fought with Emo Qingyun. His strength is not simple. You should be careful. Senior fellow apprentice Fang, you don't have to worry. I can still deal with a guy with the cultivation in the peak of the 8th hurdle of Celestial Strong Realm. For Fang Yuan's reminder, Huang Fu Qingsong waved his hand indifferently, with a confident look. Seeing Huang Fu Qingsong's performance, Fang Yuan shook his head helplessly and did not continue to say anything. Huang Fu Qingsong responded to Fang Yuan and turned to look at Emo Qingyun. He sneered proudly, "Emo Qingyun, I will let you know what the price of arrogance is." Emo Qingyun didn't argue with Huang Fu Qingsong's complacent words, and he just said with an indifferent expression, "If you can receive 10 moves from me, then I'll fulfill my promise from before and directly let you leave. But if you can't, then don't blame me for spilling your blood here." Cut the crap. Let's do it. Seeing Emo Qingyun say so, Huang Fu Qingsong did not say more and directly started to fight with Emo Qingyun. Black Gold Dragon Picture, appear. In this battle of life and death, Huang Fu Qingsong did not dare to reserve any more and directly cast his Celestial Strong Realm picture. An image flickering with golden light appeared above Huang Fu Qingsong's head. Inside the image, a viper was fluttering madly. Huang Fu Qingsong's Big Dipper portrait was not weak. It was ranked around the top 3,000 among the 100,000 Big Dipper portrait. It was also a very powerful Big Dipper portrait. Profound Dragon Sword Art, Azure Dragon Breaks the Heavens. After bringing out the Heavenly Dipper picture, Huang Fu Qingsong held the longsword in his hand and directly slashed at Emo Qingyun, intending to make the first move. Huang Fu Qingsong slashed out, and the long sword in his hand immediately bloomed with a dazzling light, turning into a golden dragon shadow. After the dragon shadow sword ray was formed, the black gold inferior dragon diagram suddenly shone brightly and emitted a powerful force to support the dragon shadow sword ray. Then, the sword light's power rose to the peak, reaching a level that could make a transcendent expert pale. Facing Huang Fu Qingsong's sword, Emo Qingyun shook his head with an indifferent expression and said, "Too weak." The demonic shadow traceless, following like a shadow. Emo Qingyun took a step out. 3 afterimages appeared behind him, his figure vanishing on the spot. After a short while, when Emo Qingyun's figure appeared again, he was already holding the scorching flame battle halberd in his hand, directly piercing through Huang Fu Qingsong's throat. How can he be so strong? Looking at his own pierced throat, Huang Fu Qingsong's face revealed an expression of disbelief, uttering a sentence of unwillingness. He could not understand no matter what, a person with peak Heavenly Dipper 8th level cultivation, his strength would be horrifying to such an extent. It was just that before his words finished, his eyes were wide open, hanging on the scorching flame battle halberd with remaining grievances. Pucci. Seeing Huang Fu Qingsong die, Emo Qingyun forcefully pulled the scorching flame battle halberd out of Huang Fu Qingsong's throat. Thud. Losing the support of the scorching flame battle halberd, Huang Fu Qingsong's body was like mud, directly going limp, falling to the ground. One move and Huang Fu Qingsong was killed. Looking at the scene in front of them, the expressions of the people around trembled, showing a shocked expression. Especially the people of the Kanglan City Lord's mansion, they were even more shocked by the scene in front of them. They had heard of Huang Fu Qingsong's name for a long time. He was a genius on the list of talents of the Divine Land and the successor of the Iron Sword Villa, a quasi-supreme master force. But such a genius had been killed by Emo Qingyun, who had a lower cultivation level than him, in one move. How could this not shock them? Emo Qingyun can kill Huang Fu Qingsong with one move. He must be at least a 3-kill talent. Seeing Emo Qingyun killing Huang Fu Qingsong, Fang Yuan's expression became more dignified, and he secretly said, "It seems that Emo Qingyun did not use his full strength when fighting with me last time. It's your turn." When Fang Yuan was surprised by Emo Qingyun's strength and his expression was uncertain, Emo Qingyun pointed at him with the scorching halberd. Seeing Mo Qingyun pointing at himself with the halberd, Fang Yuan no longer hesitated and slowly walked toward Mo Qingyun. Then Mo Qingyun and Fang Yuan confronted each other, exuding an amazing combat power. The Dark Sword 2 map come out. After confronting Mo Qingyun for a moment, Fang Yuan summoned his Big Dipper picture, which suspended over his body and burst out a fierce momentum. In this Big Dipper picture there were 9 swords of different colors, and each sword exuded a different momentum. The Dark Sword 2 map. Seeing Fang Yuan's Big Dipper picture, the expressions of Qi Lian and others changed, and they were shocked. The Dark Sword 2 map ranked 37th among the 100,000 Big Dipper pictures. It was an extremely incredible Big Dipper picture. It was said that if different swords in the Dark Sword 2 map were used and merged with one's own sword, the sword would have different attributes of attack. With martial arts of the same attribute, the power of martial arts could be exerted to the extreme, and people could burst out a combat power far beyond their own. Mo Qingyun, last time when I fought with you, I didn't even use 1/10 of my strength. Today I'll let you see my real strength. After Fang Yuan finished his words, he took out a transparent long sword and looked at Mo Qingyun. This colorless sword is a low-grade spiritual weapon, which is made of 9-star exquisite stone. It can be attached with any attribute of power. I can't be compared with last time when I used it. It's troublesome. Seeing Fang Yuan take out the colorless sword, Iron Wing couldn't help but frown with a worried expression on his face. He and Fang Yuan had known each other for many years, so he was very clear about Fang Yuan's real combat power. Hearing Iron Wing's words, Qi Lian and others all looked at him and wanted to know Fang Yuan's real strength. Seeing that everyone looked at him, Iron Wing showed a dignified expression and said in a deep voice, "When Fang Yuan takes out the Dark Sword 2 map and uses the colorless sword, even a person with the cultivation of the 3rd hurdle of the magical power may not be his opponent. I'm afraid that the young lord is not his opponent." After hearing Iron Wing's words, Qi Lian and others also looked serious. They didn't expect Fang Yuan's real combat power to be so strong. In this way, Fang Yuan had the strength to fight with someone who was 3 levels higher. If Mo Qingyun wanted to defeat him, he had to have the strength to fight with someone who was 4 levels higher. Did Mo Qingyun have this strength? Chapter 902. Butler, since Fang Yuan is so powerful, should we stop the young lord so that he won't be injured in the fight? Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of them, Sha Yunjin and others were worried and asked for Qi Lian's opinion. Seeing that everyone looked at him, Qi Lian's expression was dignified. He thought for a while and said, "Don't stop the young lord for the time being. I believe that with the strength of the young lord, even if he can't defeat Fang Yuan, it should be no problem for him to protect himself. It's just that he let Fang Yuan go this time." That's true. Hearing Qi Lian's words, everyone's expressions were relaxed and they agreed with Qi Lian's statement. Fire. Fang Yuan raised the colorless sword in his hand, and a fire sword flew out of the Dark Sword tomb painting and merged with the colorless sword in his hand. Subsequently, the color of the colorless sword changed from the original colorless state to a red fire sword, so that the colorless sword could attack with the property of fire. Not only that, after the colorless sword was supported by the Dark Sword tomb painting, its spiritual weapon also turned into the spirit of flame, so that the power of the colorless sword was improved again. After seeing this scene, Qi Lian and others were all serious and tense. They were ready to take action at any time. From the current point of view, the power of the colorless sword in Fang Yuan's hand may be comparable to that of a middle-grade spiritual weapon. Even an ordinary person with the cultivation of the 9th hurdle of Heavengang realm with the help of a middle-grade spiritual weapon can fight with an overmatch of the 1st hurdle of Heavengang realm. Fang Yuan's current strength is enough to fight with an overmatch of the 4th hurdle of Heavengang realm. In this way we should be fully alert and be ready to help the young lord at any time. At this moment, Qi Lian and the others had nervous expressions, and all of them paid full attention to Emo Qingyun. Under everyone's gaze, Fang Yuan took the lead to take action. Azura swordsmanship, red flame storm. Fang Yuan waved the long sword in his hand. It was like a flying fire dragon, stirring up flaming whirlwinds and bursting flames. In the blink of an eye, the place where Fang Yuan's colorless sword passed became a sea of fire purgatory. The Dark Sword Tomb portrait is a good Big Dipper portrait. Seeing the Big Dipper totem above Fang Yuan, Emo Qingyun smiled faintly and made an evaluation of the Dark Sword Tomb. However, Emo Qingyun was really disappointed after seeing the picture of the Dark Sword Tomb. He looked at Fang Yuan and shook his head. The Big Dipper pictures are of high grade, and the weapons are also rare magic weapons. Unfortunately, your original conception is too low to give full play to their real power. It's enough to kill you. Seeing that his shortcomings were pointed out by Emo Qingyun, Fang Yuan's expression became gloomier, and he said some unpleasant words. Fang Yuan quickened his pace. After a few flashes, he came to Emo Qingyun with the colorless sword. Heavenly Flame's sky-breaking halberd. Facing the frontal assassination of the colorless sword, Emo Qingyun finally moved. He rotated the scorching halberd quickly. Emo Qingyun rotated the scorching halberd to break the red firestorm. Then he held the scorching halberd in his hand and turned into a red dragon shadow. He went to Fang Yuan, who was attacking from the front. Under Emo Qingyun's attack, a shockingly profound power erupted from his body. This was the complete power of the fire quintessence. Under the impact of the original power of fire of the scorching halberd, the power of fire on the colorless sword was suddenly suppressed. This feeling was like a mouse meeting a cat. It suddenly lost its original momentum. Clang! When the scorching halberd collided with the colorless sword, it made a crisp sound and burst out a violent flame. Then, the colorless sword and the scorching halberd staggered and continued to rush forward. The colorless sword was only 4 feet long, while the scorching halberd was 7 feet long. Before the colorless sword approached Emo Qingyun, the scorching halberd had already arrived in front of Fang Yuan. Looking at the scorching halberd that stabbed him quickly, Fang Yuan had no choice but to retreat to avoid the attack of the scorching halberd. Seeing that Fang Yuan retreated and dodged, Emo Qingyun smiled slightly and said, "This move will let you understand that the longer you are, the stronger you are. You just take advantage of the power of the weapon. There is nothing to be proud of." Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Fang Yuan snorted coldly and showed a disapproving expression. But he didn't think that he used the colorless sword to fight with Emo Qingyun. In fact, he also took advantage of the power of the weapon. Thump, 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 as Fang Yuan retreated, he pulled away from the scorching halberd and narrowly avoided the attack of the scorching halberd. Fang Yuan's powerful attack was easily resolved by Emo Qingyun. Moreover, the situation was easily reversed by Emo Qingyun. The surrounding people were all dumbfounded. They could not believe what they were seeing. Was Emo Qingyun so powerful? It wasn't that they had never seen a battle where the weak won against the strong. However, it was extremely rare for the weak to win against the strong in such a straightforward manner. It seems that we all underestimated the strength of the young lord. Qi Lian and the others were delighted when they saw the strength Emo Qingyun displayed. Their expressions revealed excitement. At present, it seemed that the potential of Emo Qingyun was far beyond his expectation. Being forced to retreat by Emo Qingyun's halberd, Fang Yuan made a gesture with his left hand and pointed at the colorless sword in his hand. Then, the fire sword that was added to the colorless sword was immediately peeled off and returned to the map of the Dark Sword Tomb. At the same time, the colorless sword returned to its original appearance and became a transparent long sword. Seeing that the colorless sword returned to its original appearance, Fang Yuan raised it again and wanted to add other attributes to it. Soon, an ice sword flew out of the map of the Dark Sword Tomb and slowly merged with the colorless sword. As the ice sword merged with the colorless sword exuded a horrible chill. Under the erosion of the chill, a layer of frost instantly condensed on the surrounding ground and steps. Water restrains fire. Facing my colorless sword with ice attribute, I'd like to see how much power your martial arts have left. Looking at the colorless sword with ice attribute, Fang Yuan sneered and attacked Mo Qingyun again. Azura swordsmanship, hell freeze. Fang Yuan held the colorless sword and slashed several times to the front quickly, blasting out amazing ice elemental force. Bang, bang, bang. As soon as this ice origin energy appeared, it transformed into numerous sword lights that were the size of small mountains, and they crushed towards Mo Qingyun with an imposing aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas. As I said, the Big Dipper picture is very powerful and the colorless sword is also very good, but the strength of the sword user is too weak. In the face of Fang Yuan's sword, Mo Qingyun was still calm and said a disdainful sentence. After Mo Qingyun's words, an amazing chill broke out from his body. As the chill broke out, a layer of frost condensed on the scorching halberd in his hand. Chapter 903. Mo Qingyun released the perfect source of water. Everyone's expression changed immediately, and they looked at him differently. The perfect source of water. Mo Qingyun has comprehended two kinds of perfect source of power. The young lord's ability to comprehend the source of power is far beyond that of ordinary people. His comprehension ability is amazing. Without using the blood of the heavenly soul demon clan, he has such strength. His talent is amazing. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, the Iron Wing, Xia and others were surprised. They were shocked by Mo Qingyun's performance. Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated after unleashing the full power of the water origin source. He directly blasted the oncoming iceberg. Boom! Under Mo Qingyun's halberd, the iceberg that was charging towards him was instantly blasted apart. The halberd broke the sword light of the iceberg. Mo Qingyun didn't stop and continued to rush toward Fang Yuan. Seeing that Mo Qingyun easily defeated the sword light of the iceberg, Fang Yuan was a little flustered. He waved the colorless sword in his hand crazily. Under Fang Yuan's crazily waving the sword light of the iceberg flew out from the colorless sword and rushed toward Mo Qingyun. Bang, bang, bang. Facing Fang Yuan's continuous attacks, Mo Qingyun still didn't stop. He constantly rotated the scorching halberd to break the sword light of the iceberg. Next, Mo Qingyun moved forward step by step and slowly approached Fang Yuan. After a while, Mo Qingyun came to within 10 meters in front of Fang Yuan. Before Fang Yuan waved the colorless sword again, Mo Qingyun stabbed him with the halberd. In the face of Mo Qingyun's halberd, Fang Yuan didn't dare to be careless. He immediately put the colorless sword in front of his chest to resist Mo Qingyun's halberd. Boom! Under the impact of the scorching halberd, Fang Yuan was directly blown out and fell heavily to the ground. Puff! After Fang Yuan fell to the ground, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face became pale, and his expression showed a sense of panic. He really did not expect that Mo Qingyun's strength was actually so strong. If that was the case, the last time Mo Qingyun fought with him in the City Lord's mansion, he might not even have revealed a tenth of his strength. Mo Qingyun didn't pay attention to Fang Yuan's shock. He looked at him indifferently and said, "There are 8 moves left. Mo Qingyun, don't be too proud. That was just a warm-up." Fang Yuan endured the pain from his chest and slowly stood up. He gnashed his teeth and looked at Mo Qingyun. As Fang Yuan stood up, a fierce momentum was emitted from his body. This was sword momentum, a sword momentum at the peak of beginner's glimpse. As Fang Yuan showed his sword momentum, the momentum of the colorless sword in his hand suddenly became much sharper. Gold. While releasing the sword momentum, Fang Yuan was not idle and changed the attributes of the colorless sword. Immediately, the color of the colorless sword changed again from snow-white to gold. Suddenly, an indestructible momentum was shown from the colorless sword, as if it could break everything in the world. Shura swordsmanship, golden ghost flame. Fang Yuan waved the colorless sword, and golden ghost shadow swords flew out from the colorless sword one after another. As soon as these ghost swords came out, they came to Emo Qingyun in a blink of an eye and attacked Emo Qingyun from many angles. In the face of Fang Yuan's attack, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate and waved the scorching halberd in his hand continuously. When Emo Qingyun waved the scorching halberd, the color of the scorching halberd gradually turned into red gold. Then, Emo Qingyun's body turned into a golden light armor, blooming with dazzling golden light. Seeing the golden light armor around Emo Qingyun's body, the surrounding people were shocked again and were stunned on the spot. 3 kinds of perfect origin power. With only the cultivation of the 8th hurdle of Heavenly Gang Realm, Fang Yuan had comprehended 3 kinds of perfect origin power. Although this kind of comprehension was not unparalleled in the future, it was unprecedented. Traceless magic shadow, following the body like a shadow. Emo Qingyun's figure moved, and immediately there were 6 residual shadows behind him, approaching Fang Yuan quickly. Traceless magic shadow. Seeing Emo Qingyun display the inherited martial arts technique Traceless magic shadow, Iron Wing was immediately shocked and said in surprise, "I didn't expect that the young lord has practiced Traceless magic shadow to the level of the small success. In this way, I'm afraid that no one in the Heaven Gang realm can surpass him in speed." How is this possible? How can Emo Qingyun be so strong? I'm afraid that even I can't defeat him. Looking at Emo Qingyun, who was surging and domineering, Lang Ping's face turned pale, and his eyes flashed with panic. He was very afraid that when Emo Qingyun fought with him later, what could he use to fight with Emo Qingyun? If he couldn't defeat Emo Qingyun, wouldn't he die under Emo Qingyun's sword? At present, when Lang Ping was worried, Emo Qingyun came to Fang Yuan and directly swept his halberd toward Fang Yuan. With Emo Qingyun's halberd sweeping, the initiative of the confrontation between the 2 sides instantly came to Emo Qingyun's hands. Next, Fang Yuan was like a headless fly. Under the attack of Emo Qingyun, he was bombarded into a mess and was battered and exhausted. With Emo Qingyun's continuous attacks, his momentum became stronger and stronger, and the original power he showed was more and more. Under the continuous increase of Emo Qingyun's attack power, Fang Yuan's situation became more and more dangerous. If he was careless, he might be killed by Emo Qingyun. Puff! Emo Qingyun's halberd pierced directly into Fang Yuan's chest, leaving a ferocious wound with blood spurting out. At the same time, Fang Yuan's body was directly sent flying by Emo Qingyun's halberd. Puff! After being hit by Emo Qingyun, Fang Yuan spat blood again, which was dyed red by the blood flowing out of the wound. At this moment, Fang Yuan looked very battered, like a prisoner who was tortured. Fang Yuan coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood. He slowly stood up and looked at Emo Qingyun gloomily. He gnashed his teeth and said, "Emo Qingyun, you forced me to do this. Next, I will kill you." Mighty body of demon. Fang Yuan raised his head and roared. A black mist flew out of his body and formed a huge black shadow outside him. After the black shadow was formed, it exuded a gloomy and overbearing pneuma. Its expression showed a momentum of disdain for the world. This is the mighty body of demon, which ranks 9th among the 3,000 special constitutions. I didn't expect Fang Yuan to have such an incredible constitution. Seeing the black shadow outside Fang Yuan's body, Qi Lian and others were shocked. They were surprised that Fang Yuan had such a trump card. Although the mighty body of demon was not the most powerful constitution, its defensive power and attack power could be ranked in the top 3 powerful constitutions. Fang Yuan's original strength was very strong. Now, with the help of the mighty body of demon, his strength was bound to be more powerful. If that was the case, it would be quite difficult for Emo Qingyun to kill him. Chapter 904. With Fang Yuan's current strength, I'm afraid that he can fight with a person in the fifth hurdle of the divine power. In this case, will the young lord be in danger when he fights with him? It shouldn't be. The young lord hasn't displayed his martial soul's magical power yet. He should have a lot of strength left. Seeing that Fang Yuan showed an amazing trump card, Qi Lian and others looked dignified and paid attention to the battle situation intently. The young lord still has a trump card that he hasn't displayed? Hearing Qi Lian's words, Iron Wing couldn't help but be surprised. He didn't expect that Mo Qingyun still had some strength left. In this case, Mo Qingyun's combat power was too amazing. Of course. In response to Tai Yi's surprised words, Qi Lian nodded his head with certainty. He continued, if it were not for the fact that the young master does not wish to use his power to bully others, even the people from the Kanglan City Lord's mansion would not be able to stop the young master once he used his strongest technique. Hearing Qi Lian's words, Iron Wing couldn't help but gasp. His look at Mo Qingyun changed dramatically. A person in Heaven Gang realm actually had a trump card that could kill a person in the ninth hurdle of the divine power. It was a bit too scary. When everyone looked at Mo Qingyun and Qi Lian, Fang Yuan finally couldn't bear it and took the lead to attack Mo Qingyun. Dark. Fang Yuan raised the colorless sword again and changed the attack attribute of the colorless sword. Its color gradually turned into black. With the transformation of the colorless sword into the dark sword, the compatibility between Fang Yuan and the demon shadow outside his body immediately improved significantly. Azura Sword Tactics Demon Sword. The colorless sword separated from Fang Yuan and came to the sky above Mo Qingyun in the blink of an eye. It bloomed with a dazzling light. Swish! The colorless sword suddenly shone brightly and divided into nearly 100 sword lights, which blocked Mo Qingyun's way. Oh no! Fang Yuan's sword is so powerful that even a practitioner with the fifth hurdle of the magical power may not be able to take it. Looking at the hundreds of sword lights above Mo Qingyun, Qi Lian and the others were shocked. They revealed nervous expressions and wanted to help Mo Qingyun resolve this sword attack. Immediately after, a terrifying aura was released from Qi Lian and the others. Qi Lian, you don't have to do anything. This sword move can't hurt me. I can handle it myself. Seeing the actions of Qi Lian and the others, Mo Qingyun revealed a solemn expression and stopped their actions. Teleportation door. While Mo Qingyun was instructing Qi Lian and the others, he did not remain idle. He did not hesitate to use a teleportation gate. As soon as the teleportation vortex appeared, Mo Qingyun entered it without any hesitation. He vanished into the light of the demon god's sword. The moment Mo Qingyun's figure disappeared, the demon god's sword radiance flew wildly and blasted towards the place where Mo Qingyun was standing. Under the attack of my demon god sword, even if you can fly, you will definitely die. Seeing that the demon god's sword radiance blasted towards Mo Qingyun, Fang Yuan sneered proudly. It seemed that he was sure that Mo Qingyun would definitely die. Fang Yuan, you seem to be complacent too early. Then, when Fang Yuan just finished his words, a sarcastic remark came into his ears. After hearing this, Fang Yuan's expression suddenly trembled. He unconsciously looked towards the source of the sound. As soon as Fang Yuan turned his head, he saw a sharp halberd blade stabbing towards his throat quickly. Seeing the approaching halberd blade, Fang Yuan's expression suddenly changed greatly. He quickly dodged the attack of the halberd blade. However, the attack speed of the halberd blade was too fast. Although he quickly dodged, his right shoulder was still stabbed by the halberd blade. Crack! The scorching halberd pierced into Fang Yuan's right shoulder. It directly broke his right shoulder bone and penetrated through his right shoulder. After the halberd broke Fang Yuan's right shoulder bone, Mo Qingyun's hands kept moving. He once again stabbed the scorching halberd deeper. Then, Mo Qingyun turned the scorching halberd and directly dislocated Fang Yuan's right arm. Fang Yuan, who lost his right arm, immediately screamed. He looked at Emo Qingyun with a pale face. However, at this moment, he didn't care about the injury. Instead, he looked at Emo Qingyun in panic and said, Emo Qingyun, I have taken 10 moves from you. Shouldn't you fulfill your promise and let me go? At this moment, there was no arrogance in Fang Yuan's expression. There was only strong fear and awe. He was very worried that Emo Qingyun would go back on his words and insist on killing him regardless of the previous promise. Emo Qingyun did not directly answer Fang Yuan's words. Instead, he picked up the colorless sword on the ground and said with a smile, It's a good sword. With this sword, I should be able to use the power of the origin more flexibly. Emo Qingyun glanced at the colorless sword with love and put it into the Qianquan bag. He looked at Fang Yuan and said, Since I said that if you can take 10 moves from me, I will spare your life. Naturally, I won't go back on my words. Now you can get out of here. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Fang Yuan hesitated a little. He looked at Emo Qingyun and said, Emo Qingyun, the colorless sword is my weapon. Give it back to me immediately. The colorless sword is my trophy. Have you ever heard that the loser is qualified to ask for the trophy? Emo Qingyun looked at Fang Yuan sarcastically and said contemptuously. He said impatiently, I spare your life for the sake of Iron Wing. If you don't appreciate my kindness, don't blame me for being ruthless. Originally, with Emo Qingyun's strength, it was not difficult to kill Fang Yuan. However, Emo Qingyun was worried that doing so would make Iron Wing feel ill at ease. Therefore, Emo Qingyun decided to spare Fang Yuan's life. In addition, in Emo Qingyun's view, since one of Fang Yuan's arms had been destroyed, Fang Yuan's future achievements would be limited. Therefore, Fang Yuan would not be a big threat. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Iron Wing's expression changed slightly and showed a trace of gratitude. In the conversation with Qi Lian and others just now, he had a general understanding of Emo Qingyun's strength. Now, with his wisdom, he could naturally understand that Emo Qingyun did not kill Fang Yuan at this moment completely for his sake. Emo Qingyun, wait for me. Today's hatred will be repaid 100 times in the future. Seeing that he couldn't get the colorless sword back, Fang Yuan didn't stay any longer. After saying a ruthless sentence, he turned and left. After seeing Fang Yuan leave, Emo Qingyun turned to look at Lang Ping and sneered, Lang Ping, considering that you are Xia's cousin, I will give you the same opportunity. If you can take 10 moves from me, I will also spare your life. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Lang Ping's expression twitched, and a strong panic appeared on his face. He was very clear about his strength. He could barely fight with people in the 4th hurdle of the magical power. He was absolutely no match for Emo Qingyun. In this way, if he fought with Emo Qingyun, there would only be one result. He would either be directly killed by Emo Qingyun or be killed by Emo Qingyun in 10 moves. Chapter 905. When he thought of his fate, Lang Ping no longer hesitated and immediately knelt down in front of Xia. Xia, on account of the fact that I once saved your life, can you help me beg Emo Qingyun to spare my life? Lang Ping begged with tears and snot as he knelt in front of Xia, as if he had been greatly wronged. Seeing Lang Ping's actions, Xia could not bear it. Although Lang Ping was treacherous, selfish and despicable, he had indeed saved her life before. With that thought, Xia looked at Emo Qingyun with a troubled expression. She was prepared to beg Emo Qingyun to spare Lang Ping. Seeing Xia turn to look at him, Emo Qingyun immediately understood her intentions. He frowned slightly as he looked at Lang Ping and said, On account of the fact that you once saved Xia's life, I'll let you off today. Fram. Thank you, Xia. Thank you, Brother Emo, for sparing my life. Seeing that Emo Qingyun was going to let him off, Lang Ping was immediately pleasantly surprised. He hurriedly thanked Xia and Emo Qingyun. Then, Lang Ping scrambled away in a hurry. Looking at his hurried manner, It was as if he was afraid that Emo Qingyun would go back on his words. Young lord, the people of the Moon Eclipse Wolf Clan are treacherous and cunning. If you let Lang Ping off today, I'm afraid it will be quite troublesome in the future. Seeing that Emo Qingyun had let Lang Ping off, Iron Wing's expression turned serious as he spoke worriedly. Don't worry. Since I dared to let him go, I naturally have my reasons. Seeing that Iron Wing was worried, Emo Qingyun waved his hand confidently, indicating that he did not need to worry about it. Seeing that one of the 4 people of Iron Wing surrendered, one died, one was injured and one escaped, the people of the Kanglan City's governor's mansion were ready to leave. They did not want to continue to stay in this troublesome place. Are you going to leave like this? Seeing that the people of the Kanglan City's governor's mansion were about to leave, Emo Qingyun's expression turned cold and he spoke coldly. Just now, these guys came with Fong Yuan and others. Obviously, they had evil intentions towards Emo Qingyun's mansion. Now seeing that the situation was not good, of course, they wanted to leave. How could Emo Qingyun let them? You're a junior? Of the younger generation of the Kanglan City's mansion. I can come and go as I like. It is not your turn of that. Of a junior. It's not your turn of a junior. Of the youngers of you. Of that is that of the. That of the way. Under normal circumstances you can come and go as you like. I really don't care about that. But you shouldn't come with Fong Yuan today. Hearing He Zheng's arrogant words, Emo Qingyun showed a disdainful expression. His expression turned cold and he said, in addition, in my eyes, you, the Kanglan City's governor, are actually not much different from a beggar. So, you don't need to be arrogant in front of me. Boy, you're courting death. Seeing that Emo Qingyun compared him with a beggar, He Zheng immediately became furious and punched at Emo Qingyun. I think it's you who is courting death. Seeing He Zheng's powerful attack, Qi Lian showed a gloomy smile. He moved his body and went to meet He Zheng. Iron Wing, you fight with Qi Lian and kill these people of the Kanglan City's governor's mansion. Seeing that Qi Lian and He Zheng were fighting, Emo Qingyun did not think much and immediately ordered Iron Wing and others. Yes, young lord. Hearing Emo Qingyun's order, Iron Wing and others did not hesitate at all and immediately attacked the people of the Kanglan City's governor's mansion. On the side of the Kanglan City's governor's mansion, only He Zheng had the cultivation of the 9th hurdle of the divine power. The others had the cultivation of the 6th hurdle or the 7th hurdle of the divine power. Although their numbers far exceeded Qi Lian and the others, the gap in cultivation was truly too great. It was not something that could be made up for by relying on numbers. Then, facing the attacks of Iron Wing and others, they immediately fell into a situation of being slaughtered. In just a moment, there were a lot of casualties in the Kanglan City's governor's mansion. Let's go. Seeing this scene, Emo Qingyun did not stay and signaled Xia to leave with him. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Xia lowered her head and did not move. She seemed to be thinking about something. After a moment of silence, Xia seemed to be pretending to be brave. She looked at Emo Qingyun expectantly and said, "Previously in the Wild Wave restaurant, you said that you would protect me forever. Is that true?" "Of course." In response to Xia's question, Emo Qingyun nodded without hesitation. Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Xia immediately smiled sweetly and displayed her alluring beauty. Then, Xia looked excited and followed Emo Qingyun back to the Wild Wave restaurant. After returning to the Wild Wave restaurant, Emo Qingyun sent Xia back to her room and returned to his room to check on Wu Dun's injuries. After checking, Emo Qingyun had a clear understanding of Wu Dun's injuries. After Wu Dun had fused with the tyrannical lion's legacy, his physique had changed greatly and his body had become extremely powerful. Although his injuries looked hideous and terrifying, they were all superficial wounds and were not particularly serious. After learning about Wu Dun's condition, Emo Qingyun was relieved and told him to stay here and recuperate. After telling Wu Dun that, Emo Qingyun got up and left the room. At this moment, Qi Lian and the others returned. Young lord, everything has been taken care of. Qi Lian came to Emo Qingyun's side and reported the results. Okay. Hearing Qi Lian's report, Emo Qingyun nodded indifferently and told everyone, go to prepare. In a few days we may go to the Qifeng Mountain. Qifeng Mountain? Hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Qi Lian frowned and became serious. He said, Young lord, the Qifeng Mountain is located at the junction of the Tianjian Mountain and the Western Continent. If Li He knows that the Iron Wing has been subdued and Feng Yuan has been disabled, he will definitely take revenge on us. If we go to the Qifeng Mountain and meet him, I'm afraid, although this trip is really dangerous, I have decided to go to the Qifeng Mountain alone. Emo Qingyun was very clear about Qi Lian's worries, so he spoke out his thoughts. Thousands of years ago, Li He was a strong practitioner in the Supreme Realm. Now his strength was even more unfathomable. If Emo Qingyun and the others were to encounter him, they would most likely be consigned to eternal damnation. More importantly, if they wanted to go to the Qifeng Mountain, they had to pass through the Tianjian Mountain, which was equal to entering Li He's territory. It was like a sheep entering a tiger's den. Therefore, Qi Lian's worries were still very reasonable. Emo Qingyun took this into consideration, so he absolutely went to the Qifeng Mountain alone. After all, he had the gate of transmission. If he encountered danger, although he could not defeat Li He could at least save his life. Young lord, you can't do that. With your cultivation, if you meet Li He, you will definitely die. Yes, or let the Iron Wing accompany you. If he goes with you, at least your safety will be more guaranteed. Yes, the Qifeng Mountain is full of evil beasts. Even if you are not discovered by Li He, it is extremely dangerous for you to enter the Qifeng Mountain alone. After knowing Emo Qingyun's thoughts, Qi Lian and others changed their expressions greatly. They hurriedly persuaded Emo Qingyun. Have you forgotten that I know the martial spirit's gate of transmission? In response to Qi Lian and others' worries, Emo Qingyun revealed a faint smile. He asked everyone a question and said, If you are with me, if I really encounter danger, I will be restrained when I run for my life. After hearing Emo Qingyun's words, Qi Lian and others revealed expressions of realization. They did not continue to persuade Emo Qingyun. Chapter 906. Next, Emo Qingyun instructed Qi Lian and the rest and asked Sha Yunjin to prepare a new guest room for him. After entering the guest room, Emo Qingyun started to condense the Soul Star and open up the Soul Palace so that he could subdue Iron Wing. With Emo Qingyun's current cultivation, he already had the qualifications to condense the third Soul Star. Condensing the second Soul Star was naturally not difficult. Under Emo Qingyun's condensing, the originally dim Soul Star shadow in between his eyebrows started to solidify bit by bit, emitting a beautiful purple glow. As the purple glow appeared, it became stronger and stronger, and finally, it slowly shrunk into the Soul Star. Next, a second mole-shaped 10-pointed star imprint appeared in between Emo Qingyun's eyebrows, emitting a shocking aura. This was his second Soul Star. Seeing that the Soul Star was successfully condensed, Emo Qingyun did not hesitate and started to open up the Soul Palace. A shocking soul power was released by Emo Qingyun, permeating into the second Soul Star to check the spatial structure of the second Soul Star. After sensing for a while, Emo Qingyun had a rough understanding of the second Soul Star's structure. Then, he controlled the elemental energy in his body and started to open up the second Soul Star, building palaces and mansions for cultivation. Under Emo Qingyun's elemental energy carving, lifelike palaces and mansions slowly appeared in the Soul Star. Other than that, near these palaces and mansions, Emo Qingyun also built small bridges, flowing water, gardens and courtyards. After a few hours, under Emo Qingyun's continuous carving, the 2 soul palaces in the second soul star were finally opened up by Mo Qingyun. Since the soul palaces are successfully opened, it's time to let Iron Wing become my star general. Seeing that the soul palaces were completed, Mo Qingyun stood up happily and walked out of the room to find Iron Wing. After a while, Mo Qingyun came to Iron Wing's room and told him about accepting him as a star general. With regards to Mo Qingyun's request, Iron Wing did not have any resistance and agreed to Mo Qingyun without hesitation. Soon, there was a strange connection between Iron Wing and Mo Qingyun's soul palaces. This meant that Iron Wing had become his star general. After subduing Iron Wing as a star general, Mo Qingyun prepared to head to Phoenix Perching Mountain to search for the Phoenix Blood Nirvana fruit. After deciding to go to Perching Phoenix Mountain, Mo Qingyun gathered Qi and the rest, preparing to explain some things to them. After a while, they all came to Wing's room. Since everyone is here, I will explain something to you. Looking at Qi Lian and the rest in Iron Wing's room, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and directly said to them, Iron Wing, you are more familiar with the 9 great divine mountains. Next, go to the Heavenly Pool Divine Mountain and find a relatively hidden mountain top. Command people to build a sect there. Yes, young lord. Although he did not know why Mo Qingyun did this, Iron Wing did not think too much and nodded without hesitation. In his opinion, Mo Qingyun should have a reason for arranging him like this. After explaining to Iron Wing, Mo Qingyun turned to look at Qi Lian and said, Qi Lian, after I leave Kanglan City, return to Qingyun Palace with Sha Yunjin and the rest. Move the people of Qingyun Palace to the Heavenly Pool Divine Mountain. Then, settle them in the sect built by Iron Wing. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, not only did Qi Lian understand Mo Qingyun's intention, Iron Wing also understood Mo Qingyun's plan. Originally, he planned to move Qingyun Palace from Jin State to the Heavenly Pool Divine Mountain. Everyone could understand Mo Qingyun's plan. After all, the Heavenly Pool Divine Mountain's cultivation environment was much better than Jin State's. Moreover, the Heavenly Pool Divine Mountain was currently in an ownerless state. If Qingyun Palace established a sect in the Heavenly Pool Divine Mountain, perhaps it would not take long before they could become the true owner of the Heavenly Pool Divine Mountain. Yes, young lord. After hearing Mo Qingyun's arrangement, Qi Lian immediately nodded in response. Seeing that the 2 important matters had been dealt with, Mo Qingyun was silent for a while before he said, "Oh right, the son of an old friend of mine is now recuperating in my previous room. After I leave here, take care of him for me. Young lord, don't worry about this. With us here, he won't be in any danger." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Sha Yunjin solemnly guaranteed. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, he reminded everyone of some details. After a few hours, seeing that everything had been dealt with, Mo Qingyun did not delay any longer and left the Wild Wave Restaurant for the Shifeng Mountain. After Mo Qingyun left the Wild Wave Restaurant, Qi Lian and the others did not stay idle. They all followed Mo Qingyun's instructions. After leaving the Wild Wave Restaurant, Mo Qingyun let his incarnation take his place to travel while he entered the 5 Directions Small Pagoda to cultivate. After arriving at the 2nd floor of the 5 Directions Small Pagoda, Mo Qingyun took out the Wind Vortex Crystal and refined it to improve his wind origin realm. In the following days, Mo Qingyun cultivated and hurried on his way. Half a year later in the 5 Directions Small Pagoda. During this half a year, Mo Qingyun had always been immersed in cultivation, wholeheartedly raising the realm of his wind origin. After this half a year of cultivation, Mo Qingyun's life origin realm had finally reached the Great Circle. In addition, in this half a year, although Mo Qingyun did not deliberately cultivate, his cultivation had also reached the middle stage Heaven Dipper 9th stage. In half a year, his cultivation had broken through from the peak Heaven Dipper 8th stage to the middle stage Heaven Dipper 9th stage. If others knew about this cultivation speed, they would probably be shocked. More importantly, this was the result of Mo Qingyun not deliberately cultivating. Otherwise, the time he used might be even shorter. Original body, there is a city in front. Do you want to go in and rest? At this time, the incarnation that took Mo Qingyun's place to travel sent a message to Mo Qingyun. Oh! Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. After thinking for a while, he stood up and smiled faintly. Even if I have cultivated for half a year, since I have come across a city, let's go out and take a walk. Although half a year in the 5 directions small pagoda was only a few days in the outside world, Mo Qingyun had truly cultivated for half a year. Cultivation required a balance between work and rest. Going into seclusion alone might not be a good thing. Therefore, Mo Qingyun planned to go out and take a walk. Then, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed and returned to the outside world from the 5 directions small pagoda. After Mo Qingyun came out of the 5 directions small pagoda, a tall and majestic city appeared in front of him. The city walls were dozens of feet tall. The surface of the city walls glowed with golden light as if they had been poured with pure gold. Above the city gate there were 4 simple words carved on it: East Victory Sacred City. So it is the first sacred city in the divine prefecture of the sacred region. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Mo Qingyun's mouth when he saw the words East Victory Holy City. He lifted his foot and walked into the city. Chapter 907. The Eastern Victory Holy City lived up to its name as the #1 city in the divine continent. It was far more prosperous than the Sun-Moon City. The streets were wide and filled with pedestrians. Hawkers stood on both sides of the streets, selling all sorts of pills, weapons, and other items. Dong dong dong. The sound of a gong attracted the attention of many pedestrians. They all walked towards the source of the sound. Mo Qingyun was curious as well. He followed the pedestrians to the source of the sound. Mo Qingyun soon saw a 15 or 16-year-old youth standing on a stone step with a gong in his hand. Everyone, come to our Ranger restaurant for a meal. You can hear the latest news on the Tianhun continent, such as the appearance of various secret realms, and the battle records of powerful experts. Seeing that more and more people were gathering around, the young man raised his hand and pointed at the restaurant behind him, explaining eloquently to the crowd. Kid, you're making it sound so incredible. Is it true? Hearing the young man's words, some people looked curious and asked the young man. You'll know if it's true or not when you come to our restaurant. The young man had a serious expression on his face. It didn't look like he was talking empty talk. It was as if he was serious. Forget it. If we're looking for a restaurant, it's the same to go to the Ranger restaurant. It's just a marketing ploy. It's obvious it's a scam. Let's go. Everyone had different attitudes towards the youth's words. Some went to the Ranger restaurant for a meal, while others left immediately. Mo Qingyun hesitated for a moment as he watched the crowd split into 2 groups. Then he walked towards the Ranger restaurant. Walking into the Ranger restaurant, Mo Qingyun found a corner seat and sat down. He casually ordered some dishes and wine. Behind the podium on the 2nd floor, an old man with deep eyes was sitting. Following this shocking sound, the guests in the Ranger's restaurant quieted down and raised their heads to look at the old man. The old man glanced at the crowd and put down his gavel. He coughed, ahem. Before I start, let me introduce myself. My surname is Sima and my name is Xiong. Sima Xiong. This old man is Sima Xiong. Is Sima Xiong famous? Why have I never heard of it? Junior, when Senior Sima Xiong's name shook the world, your grandfather was still playing with urine and mud. Rumor has it that 500 years ago, Senior Sima Xiong's cultivation had already reached the pinnacle of the transcendent realm. After hearing the old man's self-introduction, everyone in the Ranger's restaurant was in awe. They looked at the old man with respect. So it's Sima Xiong. I was wondering why he sounded so familiar. Emo Qingyun smiled faintly when he saw the old man sitting behind the podium. A feeling of realization rose in his heart. Back when Emo Qingyun was ascending to the supreme realm, Sima Xiong was already a famous figure. Unfortunately, Emo Qingyun had never seen him in person. After muttering to himself, Emo Qingyun became curious about the origin of this ranger's restaurant. He said, "This ranger's restaurant actually managed to invite Sima Xiong. It seems like its background isn't simple. It seems like the news they spread should be more accurate." Pa. Another shocking sound rang out. Drawing everyone's attention back to the podium, Sima Xiong's gaze was deep as he said in a deep voice, "Today, this old man will talk about three things. The first is about the strange phenomena in the Tianhan continent. The second is about the heavenly lake Sacred Mountain that was destroyed 50 years ago. The third is about the massacre of many sects in the western desert continent." After hearing Sima Xiong's words, Emo Qingyun's expression tensed up. The first two pieces of news Sima Xiong was going to talk about were extremely related to him, especially the second piece of news. When Emo Qingyun's expression became tense, the expressions of the people around him also became tense. They all held their breaths and didn't dare to speak, afraid that they would disturb Sima Xiong's speech. Recently, some of this old man's good friends sent me a message saying that strange phenomena have appeared in many of the Tianhan continent's secret treasures. It seems like they are about to open. In particular, the Tianhan continent's #1 danger zone, the Heaven Spirit Tomb, seems to be showing signs of opening. There has always been a rumor about the Heaven Spirit Tomb in the Tianhan continent. It's rumored that anyone who can pass through it will obtain the inheritance to break through to the ruler realm. Presumably, after the Heaven Spirit Tomb opens, there will be many hidden experts fighting to be the first to enter. In addition, a secret treasure has appeared not far from the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. It's rumored to be a secret realm of the ancient demon clan. It contains the inheritance of the ancient demon clan and can allow people to obtain the bloodline inheritance of the ancient demon clan. Sima Xiong's expression was solemn as he methodically shared some of the secret treasures with everyone. The Heaven Spirit Tomb is about to open? After hearing Sima Xiong's story, Emo Qingyun's expression immediately became serious. Emo Qingyun had some understanding of the Heaven's Spirit Tomb. After all, he had explored it a few times. However, what Emo Qingyun knew was a little different from what Sima Xiong was saying. It was more detailed than what Sima Xiong was saying. The Heaven Spirit Tomb could indeed allow sovereigns to obtain an opportunity to break through to the ruler realm. However, this opportunity wasn't in the Heaven Spirit Tomb, but in a place that no one knew of. According to what Emo Qingyun knew, not a single person had successfully passed through the Heaven Spirit Tomb in the past 10,000 years. Although no one had successfully passed through the Heaven Spirit Tomb in the past 10,000 years, this didn't stop countless experts from exploring it. After all, to everyone, danger was often equal to opportunity. How could one obtain a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den? While Emo Qingyun was lost in thought, Sima Xiong spoke again. The second matter concerns alchemy. Venerate Gu Qi's eldest disciple, Zhang Xuchao. It is said that alchemy Emperor Su Chao successfully broke through to the Supremacy stage with the help of Supremacy Tai Tu a month ago. Not only that, but after Pill Sovereign Su Chao's cultivation broke through to the sovereign realm, he sent out a sect-gathering order to gather all of his former fellow disciples to prepare to rebuild the sect. The reconstruction of the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain this time will once again change the situation of the Heavenly Soul continent. I'm afraid it will cause another round of conflict. In addition, this old man also heard that some of the former subsidiary sects of the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain have already reappeared. Sima Xiong explained the situation of the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain to everyone. When he heard Sima Xiong's words, Emo Qingyun's expression immediately changed. He was pleasantly surprised. Xiuqiao's cultivation has broken through to the sovereign realm. It seems that Tai too has spent quite a bit of effort. I wonder how Yongjun, Qiupeng, and the others are doing? While Mo Qingyun was pondering, the ranger's restaurant was buzzing with activity. Compared to the news of the Heaven's Spirit Tomb, they were more concerned about the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. After all, if one wanted to explore the Heaven's Spirit Tomb, they had to at least have a high-grade cultivation. As a result, such a matter seemed too distant for them. Chapter 908. Bang! Another shocking sound rang out. Seeing Sima Xiong knock the gavel again, everyone quieted down and continued to listen to Sima Xiong's story. The third matter concerns the western continent of the desert. A few days ago, news came from the western continent that several sects were annihilated overnight. The disciples of those sects died miserable death. Because of this old man personally went to the western continent. From the way those people died, it was most likely the work of extraterrestrial demons. Rumor has it that outside of the Tianhun continent, there is a vast and boundless world where many cultivators live. Their cultivation methods are different from ours, but each one of them is blessed by the heavens and is incomparably powerful. In ancient times, the Tianhun continent was invaded by extraterrestrial races. A great war broke out and caused countless experts to fall. The Heaven's Spirit Tomb also appeared at that time. Sima Xiong continued to talk about many ancient legends. Everyone listened as if they were in a dream and couldn't tell the truth from the lies. After listening to Sima Xiong's story, everyone began to worry about whether or not extraterrestrial demons would invade the eastern continent. Extraterrestrial demons? Mo Qingyun frowned. His expression became solemn as he guessed, if I'm not mistaken, these otherworldly demons might be cultivators from the demon path. I never thought that the western continent would have a passageway that connects to the demon path. Mo Qingyun had been to the underworld path and the immortal path, so he was more familiar with the 7 ancient paths than anyone else. The demonic cultivators of the demonic path are even more terrifying than the zombies of the underworld path. If the demonic path is really connected to the Tianhun continent, it will be a disaster for the continent. Thinking about the countless demonic cultivators invading the Tianhun continent, Mo Qingyun felt a headache and a strong sense of worry rise in his heart. It wasn't that he was bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind. After all, the Tianhun continent was his home. Everyone had feelings. Who could remain indifferent even when their home was in a state of misery and suffering? That is? While Mo Qingyun was sighing, a familiar figure walked through the streets of the Eastern Victory Holy City. Seeing the beautiful figure on the city road, Mo Qingyun immediately put down the chopsticks in his hand and chased after the figure. It didn't take long for Mo Qingyun to arrive in front of her and stop her. Han Yen. Looking at the beautiful figure whose path was blocked by him, Mo Qingyun's face was filled with excitement. He almost couldn't believe that this was real. Long Han Yen actually appeared in Dongxing Sacred City. Wasn't she taken away by Qian Qiuqiao? At this moment, Long Han Yen was wearing a purple dress with a black gold bracelet on her arm. Her purple hair was tied up in a purple gold bun. There were 2 mutton-fat jade earrings on her ears that emitted a faint luster. Her entire body exuded a meow aura. Han Yen. Hearing Mo Qingyun's address, Long Han Yen frowned slightly and said with a cold expression, "You've got the wrong person. I'm not the Han Yen you're talking about." With that, Qian Ying ignored Mo Qingyun and brushed past Mo Qingyun. Hearing her words, Mo Qingyun couldn't help but be stunned. He couldn't believe that Qian Ying wasn't Long Han Yen. Other than the other party giving people a feeling of coldness, her appearance was practically carved from the same mold as Long Han Yen. How could this be? How could there be someone in this world who looks so similar to Han Yen? Looking at Qian Ying's back, Mo Qingyun still couldn't believe it. His eyes were still fixed on her back. After pondering for a while, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and continued to chase after Qian-ing. From Mo Qingyun's point of view, even if Qian-ing wasn't Long Hanyan, she should be related to Long Hanyan in some way. Sensing that Mo Qingyun was following her, Qian-ing stopped in her tracks and turned to look at Mo Qingyun coldly. Clang! Looking coldly at Mo Qingyun, Qian-ing drew her sword and pointed it at Mo Qingyun, saying coldly, "I'm not the Long Hanyan you're talking about. Don't continue to follow me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." Cha! She sheathed her sword and turned around, ignoring Mo Qingyun and continuing to walk forward. Seeing Qian-ing gradually walk away, Mo Qingyun smiled bitterly. He was even more certain that Qian-ing wasn't Long Hanyan. From the moment Qian-ing drew her sword, Mo Qingyun had sensed a murderous intent, a very real murderous intent. Qian-ing felt murderous intent towards him. Murderous intent couldn't be faked. From this, it could be seen that she really wasn't Long Hanyan. Otherwise, with the relationship between Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyan, even if she pretended to be cold, it was impossible for her to have murderous intent towards Mo Qingyun. Hidden door. Although he knew Qian-ing wasn't Long Hanyan, Mo Qingyun didn't give up and continued to follow her after using the hidden door. After a while, Mo Qingyun followed behind Qian-ing and walked into a huge building. It was a place that looked like an arena. Above the arena there was a huge signboard. Divine Continents Fighting Arena. Above the plaque there were 3 big words written in flamboyant calligraphy. It turned out that this was the place where the geniuses of the Divine Continents elite ranking would fight. As Qian-ing walked into the Divine Continents Fighting Arena, there was an uproar in the Divine Continents Fighting Arena. "Look, that's Murong Qinyu. I wonder who she's going to challenge this time. In my opinion, it's very likely that she'll challenge Zhuozishu and aim for the top 10 of the Divine Continents elite ranking." Zhuozishu's cultivation has already reached the half-step transcendent realm, and he's also a half-step revered disciple. His methods are powerful. I'm afraid he won't be so easy to defeat. I don't think so. With Qian-ing's powerful strength, even the top 3 of the Divine Continents elite ranking is possible. After Mo Qingyun sat down in the spectator area, the surrounding people's conversation entered his ears word for word. Murong Qinyu? After knowing the identity of Qian-ing, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He was even more curious about her origin. Next, under Mo Qingyun's gaze, Murong Qinyu and a youth wearing a jade crown confronted each other in the arena. "Qian-ing, I'm Zhuozishu. Please give me some pointers later." Looking at Murong Qinyu in front of him, Zhuozishu revealed a burning gaze and politely cupped his hands. Sure enough, the person Murong Qinyu wanted to challenge was Zhuozishu, who was ranked 10th on the Divine Continents elite ranking. However, judging from the current situation, this Zhuozishu seemed to admire Murong Qinyu. "If you want me to give you pointers, you'll have to be prepared to lose your life. Otherwise, you can just admit defeat." Facing Zhuozishu's goodwill, Murong Qinyu responded with an indifferent expression. She emitted a killing intent and demonic aura. What a shocking killing intent! What is the origin of Murong Qinyu? She actually has such a strong demonic aura. Sensing the aura emitted by Murong Qinyu, Mo Qingyun's expression changed again. A feeling of surprise rose in his heart. Chapter 909. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was surprised, Murong Qinyu and Zhuozishu had already started to fight. A dark flame flew out from the long sword in Murong Qingyu's hand and turned into a dark phoenix shadow. This was the weapon spirit of the long sword in Murong Qingyu's hand. It seemed that the sword in her hand was a spirit weapon. Moreover, from the aura of the dark phoenix shadow, the grade of the long sword in Murong Qingyu's hand was not low. Demon Phoenix Sword Technique, Phoenix Whirling Slash. Murong Qinyu held the long sword in her hand, and made a 360-degree rotation. Like a dancing black phoenix, she slashed out one after another phoenix wing sword aura. As soon as the phoenix wing sword aura appeared, it swallowed Zhuozishu in front of her, cutting off Zhuozishu's path of retreat. Bang! A muffled sound echoed. Zhuozishu, who was swallowed by the phoenix wing sword aura, was instantly sent flying. Puff! After Zhuozishu fell to the ground, he continuously vomited blood. His complexion became incomparably pale. Murong Qingyo's expression did not change in the slightest. She still held her sword and attacked Zhuozishu. Murong Qingyo's sword was very decisive. It directly aimed at Zhuozishu's throat. She obviously wanted to kill Zhuozishu on the spot. After seeing this scene, Zhuozishu had no time to pay attention to his injuries. He shouted with a panicked expression, I admit defeat. However, what Zhuozishu did not expect was that even though he admitted defeat, Murong Qingyo's sword still did not stop. She wants to kill me. Seeing Murong Qingyo's decisive sword, Zhuozishu's heart was suddenly startled. An uneasy thought arose. However, Zhuozishu was after all one of the top 10 prodigies of the Divine Continent's elite list. He also came from a quasi-supreme clan. Naturally, he had some powerful life-saving method. Pure Jade Immortal Bow. A dark green long bow was taken out by Zhuozishu from his cosmos bag. He held the bow with one hand and pulled the string with the other. He began to draw the dark green long bow. As the dark green long bow was taken out, it emitted an astonishing aura and a transparent figure emerged. As soon as this figure appeared, it fused with Zhuozishu's body and pulled the dark green long bow to a full moon. Swish! A dark green arrow flew out from the green longbow and shot towards Murong Qingyu at an extremely fast speed. Seeing the green arrow shooting towards him, Murong Qingyu didn't dare to have the slightest hesitation. He immediately waved the long sword in his hand to chop at the arrow. Clang! A sharp and clear sound echoed. Under Murong Qingyo's attack, the dark green arrow was directly defeated. However, when Murong Qingyu defeated the dark green arrow, her body was also shaken back. She looked at the longbow in Zhuozishu's hand with astonishment and said, Half-Master's willpower, I didn't expect you to have such a treasure in your hands. Consider yourself lucky today. Finished speaking, Murong Qingyu no longer paid attention to Zhuozishu. He turned around and walked to the side of the fighting field, as if he was choosing his next opponent. Half-Step Sovereign's intent, it seems like this green longbow, was used by the Half-Step Sovereign of the Zhuo clan. You don't even know about this bow? This is the Zhuo family's mid-grade spiritual weapon, the Azure Dragon Bow. It was the bow that Half-Venerable Azure used when he was alive. It turns out to be Half-Venerable Azure's weapon. No wonder it has such great power. It seems that Zhuozishu's position in the Zhuo clan is not ordinary. It seems like Lady Qingyu has thorns. It will be very difficult for Zhuozishu to pursue her. Even if Lady Qingyu doesn't have thorns, it won't be easy for Zhuozishu to pursue her. He has a lot of opponents. Seeing the longbow in Zhuozishu's hand and Murong Qingyo's decisive attack, everyone couldn't help but sigh. Who? Seeing that he forced Murong Qingyu back with one arrow, Zhuozishu let out a deep breath. He looked at Murong Qingyo's beautiful figure and helplessly shook his head. From Murong Qingyo's sword just now, he already knew that it was impossible for him and Murong Qingyu to be together. Immediately, Zhuozishu no longer hesitated. He turned around and walked out of the fighting field. After defeating Zhuozishu, Murong Qingyu challenged a few more people and defeated them one by one, replacing their ranking on the Divine Continent's elite list. However, because the higher-ranked people weren't in Dongsheng Holy City, Murong Qingyu couldn't challenge them. She could only give up. Then, Murong Qingyu didn't stay any longer. She got up and walked out of the Divine Continent's fighting field. After leaving the Divine Continent's fighting field, Murong Qinyu didn't continue to stay in Dongsheng Holy City. Instead, she headed towards the western continent. Seeing the direction Murong Qinyu was heading, Mo Qinyun faintly smiled and continued to silently follow behind Murong Qinyu. Since everyone was heading towards the western continent, from Mo Qinyun's point of view, it couldn't be better. This way, it wouldn't delay his journey to the western continent. He could also continue to follow Murong Qinyu and slowly understand her identity and origin. In the next few days, Mo Qinyun had been following behind Murong Qinyu, moving forward neither fast nor slow. However, the scene in front of him made Mo Qinyun instantly feel helpless. He saw Murong Qinyu's figure suddenly disperse. She directly dissipated between heaven and earth, not leaving the slightest trace of aura. In addition, when Mo Qinyun felt helpless in his heart, he was even more shocked in his heart. Because the divine ability Murong Qinyu used just now was the innate divine ability of the Heavenly Demon Clan, Heavenly Demon Disintegration. Heavenly Demon Disintegration was a powerful method of the Heavenly Demon Clan to avoid being hunted down by experts. By disintegrating one's body, one could conceal oneself, thus achieving the divine ability to avoid powerful opponents. Heavenly Demon Disintegration? Looking at the disappearing figure of Mo Qinyun revealed an astonished expression. He found it hard to believe that Murong Qinyu was actually a heavenly demon. I have been using the hidden door. Logically speaking, Murong Qinyu shouldn't have discovered me, right? Thinking that he hadn't revealed himself from the beginning to the end, yet Murong Qinyu used the Heavenly Demon Disintegration to escape, Mo Qinyun couldn't help but feel puzzled. However, before Mo Qinyun could understand, he felt a powerful aura shrouding towards him. It was a middle-aged man wearing a meow-black robe. His whole body was surrounded by demonic fog, giving people a powerful, gloomy, and terrifying feeling. There is the aura of the Saintess here. It seems that he just left here. That black-clothed middle-aged man glanced around. His body turned into a black shadow and disappeared into the horizon. A heavenly demon with the strength of a demigod. Looking at the black shadow that disappeared into the horizon, Mo Qinyun frowned. His mood became somewhat heavy. I didn't expect that even a demigod heavenly demon had already come to the Tianhun continent. It seems that the peaceful days of the Tianhun continent won't be long. The sudden appearance of the heaven and earth anomaly is indeed not a good omen. It seems that troubled times are coming. Recalling Sima Xiong's words from before, Mo Qinyun couldn't help but sigh. His expression became somewhat tense as he said, I still have to speed up my cultivation. Otherwise, once the heavenly demons invade the Tianhun demon clan, I won't even have the ability to protect myself. Since I lost track of Murong Qinyu, I can only continue to advance towards the Qifeng Mountain. Chapter 9-10. The Western Continent was a desert. The origin energy of heaven and earth in the air was thin, so the cultivation environment was harsh. Therefore, as Mo Qinyun approached the Western Continent, he found that the strength of the sects here was getting weaker and weaker. A few days ago, Mo Qinyun encountered a sect that didn't even have a transcendent realm expert. Regardless of whether it was in the 9 divine mountains or even in the entire province, such a force would be at the bottom of the hierarchy. From this, it could be seen how harsh the cultivation environment in the Western Continent was. After passing through this forest, the Qifeng Mountain is in front. Looking at the endless forest, Mo Qinyun smiled faintly. His body turned into a stream of light and continued forward. After more than a month of hurrying, he was finally only 1 mountain away from the Qifeng Mountain. I wonder how Qi Lian and the others are now. Has the Qing Yun Palace been settled in the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain? Thinking of what he told Qi Lian and the others a month ago, Mo Qinyun couldn't help but worry. After sorting out his mood and discarding the distracting thoughts in his heart, Emo Qingyun flew towards the chiefing mountain wholeheartedly. Roar! A beast roar resounded through the sky. In front, 4 martial artists of Heavenly Dipper Realm Cultivation Base were chased by a huge demon wolf with wings, and they were flying towards him at top speed. Friend, leave this place quickly. This wind-winged green-faced wolf is very strong. The 4 people saw Emo Qingyun in front of them. The leader, who was in his 30s, kindly reminded Emo Qingyun. Disciples of the Fog Pool sect? Seeing the clothes on these people, Emo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Emo Qingyun had some impression of this Fog Pool sect. This was a sect that was attached to the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain in the past. In this desolate place, Emo Qingyun couldn't help but have a strange feeling when he met the disciples of the sect that was attached to the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain in the past. This feeling was like meeting an old friend in a foreign land. It was very emotional. Emo Qingyun naturally would not stand idly by since he had encountered the disciples of his former sect. He decided to lend them a hand. The cultivation of these 4 people wasn't high. Among them, the one with the highest cultivation was at the early Heavenly Dipper Stage 9. He was the one who warned Emo Qingyun earlier. As for the other 3, 2 of them were at the mid-stage of Heaven Dipper Stage 8, while one was at the peak of Heaven Dipper Stage 7. Generally speaking, if the 4 of them went out to train together, as long as they didn't encounter any divine tier experts, they wouldn't be in any danger. It was obvious that the 4 of them were unlucky to encounter a windwing green-faced wolf at the late stage of the first level of the Transcendent Art. This windwing green-faced wolf had a strange appearance. It had the body of a wolf, the wings of an eagle, and the face of a human. It was like a hybrid of many races. Friend, that windwing green-faced wolf's cultivation has already reached the late stage of the first level of the Transcendent Art. It's not something that you and I can fight against. Quickly run for your life. Seeing that Emo Qingyun wasn't moving at all, that person had an instructive expression on his face. He then reminded Emo Qingyun, our sect is 100 miles ahead. We have a mid-stage Transcendent Art Elder in our sect. As long as we return to the sect, we will be safe. Seemingly worried that Emo Qingyun would be arrogant and prepare to fight with the windwing green-faced wolf, this person reminded Emo Qingyun again. However, Emo Qingyun was still unmoved by his words and stood at the same spot. Seeing this scene, the 4 of them revealed a regretful expression. They shook their heads helplessly and didn't say anything else. In their opinion, Emo Qingyun's unwillingness to listen to their advice probably boded ill rather than well. A transcendent art realm monster beast already possessed a high level of intelligence. Seeing that Emo Qingyun was being chased by it, he actually didn't immediately turn and run for his life. The windwing green-faced wolf was instantly enraged, as if its dignity had been challenged. Roar! The windwing green-faced wolf roared angrily and leapt into the air, turning into a green blur as it pounced at Emo Qingyun with extreme speed. As the windwing green-faced wolf pounced, the claws on its 4 limbs emitted dazzling rays of cold light that shook one's soul. Not good. He really intends to fight the windwing green-faced wolf. Seeing Emo Qingyun's actions, the leader of the 4 frowned and said, "This windwing green-faced wolf was lured here by us. Let's go lend him a hand." With that, this person didn't hesitate any longer and turned to rush towards Emo Qingyun, wanting to join forces with Emo Qingyun against a common enemy. Seeing their senior brother's actions, the other 3 hesitated slightly before also turning to fly towards Emo Qingyun. When the 4 turned, Emo Qingyun, who hadn't moved all this time, suddenly had a red halberd in his hand. After taking out the scorching flame halberd, Emo Qingyun's body turned into a flaming meteor as he rapidly charged towards the windwing green-faced wolf. "Friend, retreat quickly. Careful. Don't." Seeing Emo Qingyun's actions, the 4 revealed nervous expressions and hurriedly warned Emo Qingyun. Roar! Seeing the puny practitioner in front of it advancing instead of retreating in the face of its powerful attack, the windwing green-faced wolf was instantly enraged. As the windwing green-faced wolf howled, the shadow of a green beast appeared above its body. It was a monster with antlers, a horse's face, cow's hooves, and a donkey's tail. Transcendent treasure elephant. This windwing green-faced wolf has actually cultivated a transcendent treasure elephant. Not only that, this transcendent treasure elephant is ranked in the top 1,000, the ancient mutant 4 odd beasts. It's over. With the strength of this windwing green-faced wolf, it can probably fight against a mid-stage, second-level transcendent power expert. Seeing the shadow above the windwing green-faced wolf, the 4 people's faces turned pale and their eyes flashed with intense reluctance. In their opinion, Mo Qingyun was dead for sure in the face of this windwing green-faced wolf's attack. However, the next scene was indeed far beyond their expectations. Poochie! A deep sound rang out as the transcendent treasure elephant was instantly defeated and dissipated under Mo Qingyun's halberd. After defeating the transcendent treasure elephant, the scorching flame halberd's attack didn't decrease in power as it instantly struck the windwing green-faced wolf's head. Crack! Under the impact of the scorching flame halberd, the windwing green-faced wolf's skull was instantly crushed as blood and brain matter spurted out. Awo! Letting out a miserable cry, the windwing green-faced wolf's aura rapidly dissipated as its body fell from midair to the ground. One halberd! The windwing green-faced wolf, a mutated demonic beast that had cultivated a transcendent treasure elephant and could fight against a mid-stage second-level transcendent power expert, was killed by the young man in front of them just like that. A person at the peak of Heaven Dipper Stage 8 actually had such shocking battle prowess. This was simply beyond the 4 people's expectations. 3-kill prodigy. No, his true strength might be even stronger. He might even be able to kill quadruple. What a terrifying person! Looking at Mo Qingyun in front of them, the 4 people's faces were filled with shock and couldn't accept this reality for a long time. The cultivation environment near the western continent was harsh. It was rare for a prodigy to be able to fight against someone with a higher cultivation level. How could the 4 of them not be shocked when a quadruple kill prodigy suddenly appeared? You guys are disciples of the Fog Pool sect? Chapter 9:11. I am Wang Quan. This is my junior sister, Sun Wan'er. My 2 junior brothers are Hao Ping and Qin Kun. Wang Quan was flattered by Mo Qingyun's question. He hurriedly responded to Mo Qingyun and asked curiously, "Brother, are you also a disciple of a sect near the Mingfeng mountain range?" In Wang Quan's opinion, Mo Qingyun was able to recognize them because he was a disciple of a sect near the Mingfeng mountain range and was more familiar with the Mist Pond sect. I am Mo Qingyun. I am just passing by. I am not a disciple of a sect nearby. I have some connections with the Mist Pond sect, so I can recognize the clothes of the Mist Pond sect's disciples. Mo Qingyun shook his head and gave a simple explanation. He asked with a puzzled expression, "If I remember correctly, the Mist Pond sect was built on the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain. Why did you move to the Mingfeng mountain range at the edge of the western continent?" Wang Quan and the other 3 revealed dejected expressions when they heard Mo Qingyun's words. They sighed and said, "Brother Mo, you don't know. 80 years ago, Pil Sovereign Guqi died, and the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain was destroyed by 3 supreme sections. We, the subordinate sects of the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain, were either forced to submit to the 3 great sacred mountains or moved to escape the disaster. As we fled, we were unfortunately separated from the other branches. We had no choice but to come here to take refuge. The western continent was desolate. Under normal circumstances, disciples of large sects disdained to come here. It was a good choice for the Mist Pond sect to come here to take refuge." "I see." Mo Qingyun revealed a look of understanding when he heard Wang Quan's words. He understood why the Mist Pond sect was here. Emo Qingyun pondered for a moment before revealing a curious expression. He looked at Wang Quan and asked, "That's right, how did you provoke that windwing green-faced wolf?" "It's like this. The four of us were originally training in the Mingfeng mountain range and accidentally came across a yin-yang myriad thunder fruit. Who knew that this yin-yang myriad thunder fruit was guarded by a demonic beast? What happened next is what you saw." Wang Quan smiled bitterly. He clearly still felt ashamed of being chased by the windwing green-faced wolf. Yin-yang myriad thunder fruit. When Emo Qingyun heard this, his expression immediately became excited. He asked Wang Quan, "Brother Wang, since this windwing green-faced wolf has been killed, are you going to pick the yin-yang myriad thunder fruit again?" If he could obtain the yin-yang myriad thunder fruit, he would be able to cultivate the thunder origin to the extreme and save a lot of time. At this moment, Emo Qingyun was thinking that after he obtained the yin-yang myriad thunder fruit, he would use other items to exchange with Wang Quan and the others. Hearing this, Wang Quan hesitated and said, "Brother Emo, you don't know, but when we were running for our lives, we alarmed many powerful demonic beasts. If we go back now, we may be besieged by a large group of demonic beasts." "So that's how it is." Emo Qingyun nodded indifferently. After pondering for a while, he said to Wang Quan, "How about this, you tell me where the yin-yang myriad thunder fruit is, and I will go into the Mingfeng mountain range to pick it. When the time comes, we will divide it equally. How about that?" Hearing Emo Qingyun say this, Wang Quan was silent for a while. Then, he gritted his teeth and said to Emo Qingyun, "The Mingfeng mountain range is occupied by demonic beasts. Brother Emo, you are new here. If you go alone, you may provoke powerful demonic beasts. It is better for us to go together. When the time comes, we can take care of each other. In that case, let's go together." Hearing Wang Quan's words, Emo Qingyun did not object and nodded in agreement to Wang Quan's decision. Then, Wang Quan and the other three followed Emo Qingyun to the location of the yin-yang myriad thunder fruit. Wang Quan and the other three were very familiar with the Mingfeng mountain range. With the four of them leading the way, Emo Qingyun's group of 5 soon arrived at the valley where the yin-yang myriad thunder fruit grew. This valley was a low-lying basin. At the bottom of the basin, there was a type of pitch-black stone that contained a trace of the power of lightning. "This is the land of lightning penalty?" Seeing the situation in front of him, Emo Qingyun's expression was slightly shocked. He could guess the reason for the formation of this terrain. In Emo Qingyun's opinion, if there were no accidents, this basin should have been formed by some almighty person undergoing a tribulation here. As for the power of lightning within these stones, it should have been left behind in these stones after the tribulation lightning struck, causing these stones to mutate. "Brother Emo, there are many demonic beasts in this thunderous valley. Next, you must follow closely behind us. Do not wander around," Wang Quan instructed Emo Qingyun with a solemn expression after leaving this basin. "Okay." Emo Qingyun nodded and did not say anything else. He just silently followed behind Wang Quan and the other three. As Emo Qingyun followed Wang Quan and the other three, he did not forget to release his soul power to sense the surrounding environment. After sensing for a while, Emo Qingyun understood why Wang Quan was so nervous. This was because in this basin, there were indeed many demonic beasts with intermediate transcendent powers. Of course, these demonic beasts were not much of a threat to Emo Qingyun. But to Wang Quan and the other three, it was completely different. There was no other way. The four of them were not like Emo Qingyun, who had the ability to fight against demonic beasts that were several levels higher. Hiss! A huge brown demonic snake was hiding among the fallen leaves, silently approaching Wang Quan and the others. This demonic snake's movement was very quiet, so it was not discovered by Wang Quan and the others. Soon, the distance between them was shortened to only a few hundred meters. For a huge creature that was dozens of meters long, a few hundred meters was already a dangerous area. It was within its attack range. However, this demonic snake was obviously very intelligent. It was not in a hurry to attack Wang Quan and the others. Instead, it continued to hide among the fallen leaves, waiting for Wang Quan and the others to come closer so that it could find a more suitable opportunity to attack. Of course, although this demonic snake was hidden from Wang Quan and the others, it could not escape from Mo Qingyun's soul power. Wait a minute. Noticing the huge demonic snake in front of them, Mo Qingyun looked ahead and raised his hand to stop Wang Quan and the others. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Wang Quan and the others were puzzled. They wanted to ask Mo Qingyun, but before they could speak, they saw Mo Qingyun turn into a shadow and attack the demonic snake. Mo Qingyun's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the scorching halberd was in front of the demonic beast. Faced with Mo Qingyun's attack, the demonic snake immediately raised its head and flicked its red tongue towards the scorching halberd. That was close. Thank goodness Brother Mo was here. Otherwise, we would be in danger again. Looking at the huge creature that was over 10 meters long, Wang Quan and the others trembled again. A lingering fear rose in their hearts. Although this demonic snake was not strong, it was still a transcendent realm existence. It was not something that the few of them could deal with. Chapter 9:12. This demon snake was slightly weaker than the windwing green-faced wolf, as it had not cultivated the remarkable treasure elephant. In this way, it would be even easier for Mo Qingyun to kill it. Pucci. Against the scorching halberd's attack, the demon snake's mouth was instantly destroyed and half of its head exploded. Roar. Under Mo Qingyun's powerful attack, the demon snake screamed and turned to flee. It did not dare to continue fighting with Mo Qingyun. Presumably, it had also realized that the gap between it and Mo Qingyun was too great. It was definitely not a match for Mo Qingyun. However, Mo Qingyun obviously would not let it go. He moved and chased after it again. In a few flashes, Mo Qingyun caught up with the fleeing demon snake and stabbed the scorching halberd into its weak spot. Pucci. The moment the scorching halberd pierced the demon snake's weak spot, a shocking amount of fire elemental energy exploded and surged into the demon snake's body. Under the impact of the fire elemental energy, the demon snake immediately rolled its body and let out a low cry. After a while, the demon snake stopped writhing and the smell of roasted meat came from its body. One attack and the remarkable realm demon snake was dead. Seeing this scene, Wang Quan and the rest were shocked again. They were shocked by Mo Qingyun's strength. Although this demon snake was not as strong as the windwing green-faced wolf, its body was huge and it was more difficult to deal with. Let's go. Seeing the shocked faces of Wang Quan and the rest, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and signaled for them to continue leading the way. Brother Mo, wait. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was about to continue, Wang Quan hurriedly called out to him. He quickly walked to the demon snake's side and said, "This stone demon snake has some uses for me. I want to collect its blood, gallbladder, bones, and skin to refine pills. Let me cut up the demon snake's body." With that, Wang Quan did not hesitate and immediately cut up the stone demon snake's body. Sun Wanner and the others no longer hesitated when they saw Wang Quan cutting up the rock spot demon snake's carcass. Seeing the actions of Wang Quan and the others, Mo Qingyun's expression was slightly stunned, and a rueful expression appeared on his face. Thinking back to all those years ago when he just stepped onto the Tao of pill refinement, he was like Wang Quan and the others, frequently cutting up the bodies of some demon beasts to gather pill refinement materials. The Mist Pool sect was not only a vassal sect of the Heavenly Pool Sacred Mountain, but it was also an alchemy sect. As disciples of the Mist Pool sect, it was natural for Wang Quan and the others to act like this. Although the stone spot demon snake wasn't very strong, some of its body parts could be used to refine a Tier 1 king pill. However, the body of the stone-spotted demon snake was too big. Given the speed at which Wang Quan and the others were cutting it would take them a long time to completely separate it. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He walked to the side of the stone-spotted demon snake and squatted down, preparing to help Wang Quan cut up the stone-spotted demon snake's carcass. Squatting down beside the stone-spotted demon snake, Mo Qingyun took out a small silver knife and began to cut up the stone-spotted demon snake's carcass. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Wang Quan's face was filled with gratitude. He hurriedly advised Mo Qingyun, "Brother Mo, you've already helped me kill the stone-spotted demon snake. Let us do the dirty work of cutting up the stone-spotted demon snake's carcass." Before Wang Quan could finish his words, his entire body was petrified, and he stood rooted to the ground in a daze. Not only Wang Quan, but Sun Wanner and the others also stood rooted to the ground in a daze when they saw Mo Qingyun's actions. Mo Qingyun was a pill venerate in his previous life. Naturally, when it came to something as trivial as cutting up the carcass of a demonic beast, his movements were as smooth as flowing water. Under Mo Qingyun's command, every cut of the silver knife was just right. Not only was the meat cut out, but the skin and bones of the snake were not damaged at all. Mo Qingyun's smooth and perfect knife skills shocked Wang Quan and the others. This was something that they had not expected. In their opinion, even the elders in the sect who were good at harvesting would not be as good as Mo Qingyun's knife skills. "Brother Mo, you?" After a short moment of shock, Wang Quan's eyes widened as he looked at Mo Qingyun in disbelief. Seeing the expressions of Wang Quan and the others, Mo Qingyun quickly understood what they were thinking. He smiled faintly and said, "I am also an alchemist, and I am best at cutting up the carcasses of various demonic beasts to harvest the ingredients in their bodies." In order to not shock Wang Quan and the others too much, Mo Qingyun casually made up an excuse to dispel their doubts. "I see." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wang Quan and the others' shock lessened a little, but their eyes were still full of disbelief. Perhaps in their opinion, even if Mo Qingyun was an alchemist, with Mo Qingyun's age, it was too shocking for him to have such a knife skill. About 15 minutes later, under Mo Qingyun's all-out attack, the carcass of the stone-spotted demonic snake was finally cut up by the 5 of them. "Brother Mo, your knife skill is really superb. I can't believe that even with the 4 of us combined, we can't even reach half your speed." Seeing that the carcass of the stone-spotted demonic snake was cut up, Wang Quan's face revealed a joyful smile as he spoke to Mo Qingyun in admiration. "Actually, you are already very proficient in your techniques. It's just that when you cut up the carcass you lacked some technique." In response to Wang Quan's words of admiration, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and waved his hand. He said, "In the future, when you cut up the carcass of a demonic beast, you can first release your spiritual energy to sense the structure of the demonic beast's body. If you are familiar with the structure of the demonic beast's body, it will be much easier to cut up the carcass." "I see." Hearing Mo Qingyun's advice, Wang Quan and the others' eyes lit up, and a sense of realization rose in their hearts. Then, the few of them looked at Mo Qingyun with a strong sense of gratitude. This seemingly insignificant advice, to them, was simply a wake-up call, allowing them to instantly find the trick. "Okay, let's continue on our way." Seeing that everything was ready, Mo Qingyun did not want to delay any longer and urged Wang Quan and the others. "Okay." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wang Quan's expression turned serious as he led the way in front. On the following journey, Mo Qingyun and the others encountered a few more waves of demonic beasts. However, they were all killed by Mo Qingyun. Because the carcasses of these demonic beasts had no value in alchemy, Wang Quan and the others did not cut up the carcasses any further. 15 minutes later, under the guidance of Wang Quan and the others, Mo Qingyun and the other 4 arrived at the foot of a cliff. The cliff was filled with all kinds of spiritual herbs. Among them, there were some that were decades old, some that were close to 100 years old, and some that were hundreds of years old. Unfortunately, the value of these spiritual herbs was not high. They were all common ingredients for alchemy. Glancing at the cliff in front of him, Emo Qingyun's attention was attracted by a black and white spiritual herb. In the middle of this spiritual herb, there was a black and white spiritual fruit. This was the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit. It really is the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit. Looking at the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit growing on the cliff, Emo Qingyun's face lit up with a bright smile, and he became somewhat excited. Chapter 9:13. Yin-Yang Million Thunder Fruit. Looking at the black and white spirit fruit growing on the cliff, Wang Quan and the rest were excited and wanted to pick it. Wait a minute. Seeing Wang Quan and the rest's actions, Emo Qingyun frowned and quickly stopped them. He said in a deep voice, "There's an even more terrifying demonic beast in the crack of the cliff. It's not something you can fight against." Wang Quan and the rest's expression changed. They were obviously surprised by Emo Qingyun's words. "Don't move first. I'll lure that guy to the side. Then, you guys can find a chance to pick the Yin-Yang Million Thunder Fruit." Emo Qingyun said to Wang Quan and the rest. His body floated in the air and flew towards the top of the cliff. As Emo Qingyun approached the Yin-Yang Myriad Thunder Fruit, a black figure crawled out from the crack next to the fruit with extreme speed. It was a giant scorpion covered in black scales. It had 2 huge silver pincers and a silver venomous sting on its tail. Reckless Thunder Silver Turtle Scorpion. A Level 4 Divine Power Realm Reckless Thunder Silver Turtle Scorpion. With the strength of this Reckless Thunder Silver Turtle Scorpion, it's definitely not something we can fight against. We're in trouble now. I didn't expect a Yin-Yang Million Thunder Fruit to be guarded by so many powerful demonic beasts. It's really not easy to get a heaven and earth spirit treasure. Looking at the 5-meter-long body of the huge black scorpion, whose scales were like iron walls, Wang Quan and the rest turned pale. Compared to the panic of Wang Quan and the rest, Emo Qingyun's face was calm. There wasn't the slightest fluctuation of emotion on his face. Although a Level 4 Divine Power Realm Reckless Thunder Silver Turtle Scorpion was a little troublesome to deal with, it was just a little troublesome. If he were to go all out, he would still be able to wipe them out. Tap tap, the Reckless Thunder Silver Turtle Scorpion walked along the cliff. Its claws knocked on the stone wall, making crisp sounds. This giant scorpion was very fast. It arrived in front of Emo Qingyun in the blink of an eye and leaped towards Emo Qingyun. When this giant scorpion attacked Emo Qingyun, its 2 huge silver pincers emitted a dazzling dim light as it tried to clamp down on Emo Qingyun's head. The demonic shadow traceless, like a shadow. Emo Qingyun didn't dare to be careless in the face of the scorpion's attack. He hurriedly dodged the scorpion's attack. Seeing that Emo Qingyun was retreating, the Reckless Thunder Silver Turtle Giant Scorpion didn't stop attacking. It followed closely behind Emo Qingyun, waving its silver stinger to stab at Emo Qingyun. Emo Qingyun's dodging speed increased by a few notches as he pushed his shadow, following to the extreme. Next, Emo Qingyun kept dodging while luring the scorpion away from the Yin-Yang Myriad Thunder Fruit. After a while, the distance between the scorpion and the Yin-Yang Myriad Thunder Fruit was close to 1,000 meters. Emo Qingyun said to Wang Quan in a deep voice, "Wang Quan, you guys go and pick the Yin-Yang Myriad Thunder Fruit. I'll stall this giant scorpion." "Oh, okay." Hearing Emo Qingyun's reminder, Wang Quan and the others were startled. They started to pick the Yin-Yang Myriad Thunder Fruit. Seeing Wang Quan and the others' actions, the reckless lightning silver turtle scorpion immediately gave up on chasing Emo Qingyun and went to deal with Wang Quan and the others who were picking the Yin-Yang Thunder Fruit. Seeing that the giant scorpion was going to chase after Wang Quan and the others, Emo Qingyun's expression became serious. He held the scorching flame halberd and stabbed at the giant scorpion. Crack! Under the impact of the scorching flame halberd, the giant scorpion's carapace was directly cracked, and cracks like a spider web appeared. After these cracks appeared, drops of dark green blood flowed out, which looked a little disgusting. After its carapace was pierced by Emo Qingyun's halberd, the giant scorpion was furious. It immediately turned around and attacked Emo Qingyun, ignoring Wang Quan and the others who were picking the yin-yang myriad thunder fruit. Seeing that the giant scorpion was attacking him, Emo Qingyun smiled with satisfaction. He turned around and led the giant scorpion away again. He planned to find a secluded place to kill the giant scorpion in case some of his trump cards were exposed. Although Wang Quan and the others were not a threat to him, it was always good to be careful. It's about time. After a while, seeing that he was far away from Wang Quan and the others, Emo Qingyun no longer hesitated and was ready to kill the giant scorpion. Sealed door. Under Emo Qingyun's attack, a mini light door condensed in his hand and blasted toward the giant scorpion. The sealed door was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it blasted into the giant scorpion's body. After being hit by the sealed door, the giant scorpion's aura instantly fell to the level of level 3 divine powers. I'll use you to test the power of the colorless sword. Looking at the giant scorpion whose cultivation had fallen, Emo Qingyun replaced the scorching flame halberd with the colorless sword with an expectant look on his face. In Emo Qingyun's hand, the colorless sword immediately bloomed a dazzling red color and emitted an amazing power of fire origin. Seeing that Emo Qingyun did not continue to escape, the giant scorpion jumped up and its 2 huge silver pincers clamped toward Emo Qingyun. In the face of the giant scorpion's attack, Emo Qingyun did not retreat. Instead, he attacked with the colorless sword in his hand. Clang! The colorless sword hit the giant scorpion's pincers. Immediately, sparks bloomed and a crisp sound was heard. However, the giant scorpion's pincers were not shattered by the colorless sword's attack. When the sword landed on the giant scorpion's pincers, a shocking rebounding force immediately rebounded on the colorless sword, causing Emo Qingyun to stagger back again and again. When Emo Qingyun was forced to step back, the giant scorpion was not in a good condition either. It was also sent flying. Hiss! Seeing that it was sent flying by Emo Qingyun's sword, the giant scorpion was furious and let out a low growl. Following that, the silver turtle scorpion's pincers and stinger burst out a shocking lightning. Seeing that the giant scorpion had unleashed all of its combat power, Emo Qingyun's expression turned serious and he no longer held back. Blood Qi Rampage. Under the effect of the martial soul superpower, Emo Qingyun's aura immediately entered the quasi-divine realm. After increasing his cultivation, Emo Qingyun did not hold back anymore. He held the colorless sword and slashed forward. 5 origins in 1. As he slashed out, red, orange, yellow, green, and blue lights of 5 different colors, red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, turned into a 5-colored sword light with a surging aura. After the 5-colored sword light was slashed out, it set off a sword light storm and blasted toward the giant scorpion. Gotcha! Facing the 5-colored sword light, the giant scorpion could not resist at all. It was instantly smashed into pieces. Clang! 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 Meanwhile, the sound of battle entered Emo Qingyun's ears while he was killing the colossal lightning silver turtle scorpion. What's going on? Did Wang Quan and the others get attacked by demonic beasts? Chapter 9:14. Wang Quan, if you know what's good for you, hand over the yin-yang thunder fruit. That's right. Spiritual objects like the yin-yang thunder fruit are not something you can have. There's a limit to our patience. Don't throw away your lives for a spirit item. As Emo Qingyun approached Wang Quan and the others, his complacent words came into Wang Quan's ears one after another. Wu Xian, don't go too far. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because your Jianhua school has climbed up the Sky Sword Mountain. Hearing the other party's domineering words, Wang Quan angrily replied, Also, I want to make it clear to you that this Yin-Yang 10,000 Thunder Fruit does not belong to us. We are only looking after it for someone else. In Wang Quan's opinion, if it were not for Mo Qingyun's full effort, they could not get the Yin-Yang Thunder Fruit with their ability. Moreover, along the way they also got a lot of benefits from Mo Qingyun. Therefore, in their opinion, the Yin-Yang Thunder Fruit should belong to Mo Qingyun. Humph! Wang Quan, do you think I'm an idiot? How can you tell such a lie? After hearing Wang Quan's words, Wu Xian snorted coldly. With a gloomy expression, he said impatiently, "Today, I don't care who the Yin-Yang Thunder Fruit belongs to. I want it. Now I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. If you don't take the initiative to hand it over, I have to take it myself." 10, 9. Wu Xian counted down indifferently. At this moment, before Wu Xian finished his words, Mo Qingyun came to Wang Quan and the others. "Brother Mo, you're back." Wang Quan immediately revealed a pleasantly surprised expression when he saw Mo Qingyun arrive before them. He hurriedly passed the Yin-Yang Myriad Lightning Fruit to Mo Qingyun and said, "Fortunately, you returned in time. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to keep this Yin-Yang Myriad Lightning Fruit." Mo Qingyun did not say anything when Wang Quan handed over the Yin-Yang Thunder Fruit. He directly put it into his Qiankuan bag. Who are these people? After putting away the Yin-Yang Thunder Fruit, Mo Qingyun glanced at Wu Xian and the others indifferently and asked Wang Quan about their backgrounds. "Mr. Mo, these people are disciples of the Jianhua sect." Seeing Mo Qingyun asking about the origins of Wu Xian and the others, Wang Quan introduced them. He then pointed at Wu Xian and said, "This person is at the late stage of the first level of supernatural power. He is the chief disciple of the Jianhua sect, Wu Xian. He once comprehended the earth origin to perfection and is very powerful. To be able to cultivate the earth origin source to perfection, you do have some ability. However, that's all." Hearing Wang Quan's description to Wu Xian, Mo Qingyun nodded indifferently and said with a calm expression, "How is the strength of the Jianhua school? What is the difference in strength between the Mist Pool sect and the Mist Pool sect?" The Jianhua sect isn't very strong. They are only slightly stronger than our Fog Pool sect. However, when talking about the strength of the Jianhua sect, Wang Quan and the others revealed a depressed expression. Wang Quan paused for a moment to calm himself down before he continued. "However, the Sword Splendor sect has recently established ties with the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain and has received great support from the Sky Sword Sacred Mountain. As a result, their disciples have become more and more overbearing and arrogant." "I see." After hearing Wang Quan's explanation, Mo Qingyun had a general understanding of the situation of the Jianhua sect. He did not expect the Jianhua sect to be an affiliated force of the Sky Sword Mountain. It was indeed a small world. "Lad, now you should know how powerful the Jianhua sect is. If you know what's good for you, hand over the Yin-Yang Thunder Fruit." After hearing Wang Quan's introduction of the Jianhua sect, Wu Xian showed an arrogant expression and threatened Mo Qingyun. His current appearance was like a condescending emperor, insufferably arrogant as he commanded his subjects. However, Mo Qingyun did not take Wu Xian's order seriously. He replied coldly, "If you want to snatch it, just do it. Cut the crap. I will stand here and wait for you to snatch it from me." Who was Wu Xian? He was the first disciple of the Jianhua sect. Under normal circumstances, everyone who saw him would be respectful and obedient to his words. However, a lad in the Heaven Star Border Stage 8 actually dared to talk to him in this manner. This was not something he could tolerate. "Lad, you are courting death," Wu Xian shouted angrily. His expression turned ferocious, and he was about to teach Mo Qingyun a lesson. "Senior Brother Wu, there is no need for you to deal with a lad in the Heaven Star Border Stage 8. Just as Wu Xian was about to make a move, a quasi-transcendent realm cultivator beside him stepped forward. "All right. Seeing that the quasi-transcendent realm cultivator wanted to teach Emo Qingyun a lesson for him, Wu Xian nodded with a gloomy expression and instructed, Li Fan, don't kill that lad yet. I want to capture him alive and torture him slowly later. Got it. Li Fan nodded and replied. He turned to look at Emo Qingyun and took out a black saber. He sneered and said, Lad, this saber of mine has not been stained with blood for a long time. Today, I will use your blood to awaken it. After Li Fan finished his words, he held the black saber in his hand and slashed it towards Emo Qingyun. The third style of the slash of gods and demons, heaven's destruction and earth's destruction. As Li Fan slashed his saber, a black saber radiance instantly exploded from the saber in his hand. As soon as the black saber radiance appeared, the color of heaven and earth changed, showing a gloomy and oppressive scene. Seeing Li Fan make a move, Wang Quan and the others' expressions changed. They were extremely worried. The slash of gods and demons, Li Fan. Li Fan is only slightly weaker than Wu Xian. I wonder if Brother Emo can defeat him. Everyone is saying that if Li Fan breaks through to the transcendent realm, his strength might surpass Wu Xian's. He is more talented than Wu Xian. A few days ago, I heard that Li Fan only used 10 moves to defeat a transcendent realm level 1 expert. At that time, he had not mastered the third move of the slash of gods and demons. This, for a moment, Wang Quan and the others' expressions were solemn as they voiced out their concerns. Junior Brother Li is indeed the #1 genius of the Jianhua sect. He has actually mastered the slash of gods and demons to such an extent. Seeing Li Fan make a move, Wu Xian's face was filled with admiration. He sighed and said, with Junior Brother Li's current strength, even if I want to defeat him, I will need to use at least 80% of my strength. Junior Brother Li, kill that lad in one move. That's right. Junior Brother Li, kill that lad and show him the power of the Jianhua sect. For a moment, the other disciples of the Jianhua sect cheered for Li Fan. While the disciples of the Jianhua sect were cheering for Li Fan, Emo Qingyun raised his right hand slightly and held the scorching halberd in his hand. Chapter 9:15. Sky-breaking halberd of heavenly flames. Emo Qingyun stabbed out with his halberd. Around his body, a dazzling flame bloomed, and the momentum was overwhelming. At this moment, the originally darkening sky was gradually replaced by crimson flames, dyeing the entire world red. Bang, 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 under the impact of the heat wave, the surrounding grass and trees were instantly ignited, making a series of crackling sounds. At the same time, a red dragon shadow halberd radiance burst out from the scorching halberd and went to meet the black dragon saber radiance. Bang! After the two dragon shadows, one red and one black, collided with each other, an astonishing loud noise suddenly broke out. However, under the impact of the red halberd radiance, the black dragon saber radiance was quickly shattered and turned into black fireballs that fell down, as gorgeous and dazzling as fireworks. After the red dragon shadow halberd radiance shattered the black dragon saber radiance, its attack speed did not decrease and instantly hit Li Fan. Bang! Under the bombardment of the red dragon halberd radiance, Li Fan's body was directly swallowed, and he was forcefully sent flying for nearly a kilometer. In the process of Li Fan's body flying backward, towering ancient trees were broken one by one, startling a large number of birds and beasts. Li Fan was defeated. With only one move, Li Fan, who could fight with an expert at the first level of the magical power realm, was defeated without any resistance. This scene really shocked Wu Xian and the others. This guy's strength is actually so strong. Seeing that Li Fan was sent flying by Emo Qingyun with one move, Wu Xian's expression suddenly became dignified, and he put away his contempt for Emo Qingyun. He thought that even if he used all his strength, he could not defeat Li Fan in such an overwhelming manner. Junior fellow apprentices, this guy's strength is not weak. Let's deal with him together. After a short pause, Wu Xian did not say anything more and opened his mouth to tell the people behind him. Demon Bone Sword, Thorn of Earth Dragon. A long sword carved from dragon bones, in Wu Xian's hand, emitted a yellow luster and burst out a gloomy and demonic momentum. As Wu Xian waved his sword, a powerful primordial energy mixed with the complete origin of Earth condensed into a dragon bone-like long sword, which blasted toward Mo Qingyun at an extremely fast speed. When the bone sword shadow blasted towards Mo Qingyun, it also emitted waves of dragon's might, suppressing Mo Qingyun's mind. When Wu Xian attacked, the other disciples of the Jianhua school did not hesitate and attacked Mo Qingyun one after another. Suddenly, the light of swords and the shadows of swords, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. All kinds of powerful attacks bombarded Mo Qingyun. Facing these astonishing attacks, Mo Qingyun's expression turned serious. The blazing halberd in his hand was also replaced by the colorless sword. The moment the colorless sword landed in Mo Qingyun's hand, it emitted red, yellow, and blue rays of light. It was as beautiful as a blooming flower. After the 3 rays of light bloomed, they turned into a tricolored sword light in the shape of a half-moon and blasted forward like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. Wherever the tricolored half-moon sword light passed, the grass, trees, and boulders were instantly split into 2. There was no vibration at all. Three types of origin perfection. So powerful. Seeing Mo Qingyun's sword, Wu Xian and the others' expressions suddenly changed. Their expressions were filled with intense fear. The strength that Mo Qingyun displayed at this moment was far beyond his expectations. It was something that he had never thought of before. Wu Xian was considered one of the top geniuses in the Jianhua school. Even so, his origin of Earth had reached the level of perfection after his cultivation had broken through to the divine realm. Mo Qingyun was only at the peak of Heaven Dipper Realm 8, but he had comprehended 3 types of origin perfection. His comprehension ability was too terrifying. Facing Mo Qingyun's attack, Wu Xian and the others did not dare to be careless. They all tried their best to resist. However, their resistance was like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. In an instant, they were defeated by the tricolored sword light. Bang, bang, bang under Mo Qingyun's sword, the people from the Jianhua school were directly sent flying and fell to the ground like dumplings. Puff, 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 after Wu Xian and the others landed, they felt something sweet in their throat. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and their faces turned pale. Then, they looked at Mo Qingyun without the previous arrogance in their eyes. There was only intense fear and horror. Judging from the strength that Mo Qingyun displayed, Mo Qingyun was very likely to be a quadruple kill genius, or even a quintuple kill genius. 4. Quadruple kill, no, he might be a quintuple kill genius. Wu Xian and the others' minds went blank. They felt that their brains were not enough to process the situation. They did not know what kind of monster they had encountered. Under normal circumstances, those who could fight someone 1 level higher than them were considered geniuses in the school. Those who could fight someone 3 levels higher than them were the top geniuses in the school. They were almost invincible among those with the same cultivation. Mo Qingyun actually had the strength to fight someone 5 levels higher than him. In Wu Xian's experience, he had never seen such a situation before. After sending Wu Xian and the others flying with 1 sword, Mo Qingyun showed an indifferent expression and walked toward them step by step. You don't come over. I tell you, the Jianhua school is nearby. As long as I shout, they will come to save us. Looking at the approaching Mo Qingyun, Wu Xian showed a frightened expression and threatened Mo Qingyun. However, Mo Qingyun did not take his words seriously at all. He sneered and said, "Really? Then you shout now. Call the elders of the Jianhua school to come here." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wu Xian suddenly deflated and did not know what to do. His words just now were just to scare Mo Qingyun. Although the Jianhua school was not far from here, he could not call for help by shouting. Shout! Seeing that Wu Xian hesitated and did not speak, Mo Qingyun shouted angrily with an indifferent expression, and a chill was emitted from his body. Sensing the chill from Mo Qingyun, Wu Xian's expression suddenly changed, and his body trembled violently. Help! Master! Help! Wu Xian shouted, but his voice was too low, as if he had not eaten for several days. You don't even have the courage to ask for help. You don't deserve to kill and rob. Looking at Wu Xian's cowardly appearance, Mo Qingyun looked at him with disdain, and said indifferently, Since you can't find anyone, I have to send you to hell. Brother, no. Master, I was wrong. Please spare my life. Seeing that Mo Qingyun wanted to kill him, Wu Xian was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He hurriedly begged Mo Qingyun. However, Mo Qingyun directly chose to ignore his begging and waved the colorless sword in his hand. Puff! A sword radiance flashed and directly left a deep sword mark on Wu Xian's neck, from which a cloud of bright red blood sprayed out. Seeing Mo Qingyun's attack, Wu Xian widened his eyes and fell to the ground in disbelief. After killing Wu Xian, Mo Qingyun's expression was cold as he turned to look at Li Fan and the others. Chapter 9:16. You, come over here. Glancing at the people of the Jianhua sect, Mo Qingyun's eyes finally fell on Li Fan, and he waved his hand at him. You, what are you doing? Seeing Wu Xian's death just now and hearing Mo Qingyun call him by name, Li Fan suddenly showed a horrified expression. He was scared. He was afraid that he would be killed here by Mo Qingyun's decisive attack, just like Wu Xian. He was the #1 genius of the Jianhua sect and had a bright future. He even had the chance to enter the Sky Sword Mountain to cultivate. He did not want to die here. He did not want to die like this. No. At the thought of what would happen to him, Li Fan's face was filled with horror as he shook his head continuously. At the same time, his body was also trembling and slowly moved backward. Get over here. Seeing Li Fan moving backward, Mo Qingyun's face suddenly darkened. He raised his hand and grabbed at the void. Then, a shocking original energy burst out from Mo Qingyun's palm and turned into a huge original energy palm. It grabbed Li Fan's head and lifted him in front of him. After grabbing Li Fan in front of him, Mo Qingyun took out the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit and threw it in front of Li Fan. He said, The Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit is here. Pick it up. No, I don't dare. I won't dare to do it again. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, Li Fan was immediately shocked and quickly shook his head. What a joke. Just now, they were almost beaten to death by Mo Qingyun because they wanted to snatch the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit. Now, Mo Qingyun asked him to pick up the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit. It was obvious that he wanted to kill him. He would not pick up the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit unless there was something wrong with his head. Seeing Li Fan's action, Mo Qingyun's expression became even colder. He said coldly, Just now, didn't you keep clamoring for me to hand over the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit? Now that I have taken it out, why don't you dare to pick it up? Li Fan was speechless and did not know how to answer this question. His expression was filled with helplessness and fear. He was certain that if he dared to reach out, his hands would be chopped off in an instant. Seeing this scene, Wang Quan and the others were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. At this moment, in the hearts of Wang Quan and the others, they finally understood the definition of overbearing and arrogant. What was tyrannical? What was arrogance? This was true dominance, this was true arrogance. Didn't you want to snatch my Yin-Yang Myriad Thunder Fruit? Now I'll throw the Yin-Yang Myriad Thunder Fruit on the ground, and let you guys snatch it as you wish. But do you dare to snatch it? Do you dare to snatch it? The answer was obvious. Li Fan and the others didn't dare. They didn't even dare to look at the Yin-Yang Infinite Thunder Fruit on the ground. Wang Quan and the others felt their blood boil. They looked at Emo Qingyun with fervent gazes. Brother Emo, you're too domineering, too mighty. If I could be as mighty as Brother Emo for once in my life, I wouldn't have lived in vain. He's so handsome. If he could dote on me for a night, it would be worth it even if I died. Wang Quan and the others were agitated. They couldn't calm down for a long time. Under the gaze of Wang Quan and the others, Emo Qingyun saw Li Fan's cowardly look. His expression turned cold as he said coldly, "You didn't even dare to pick it up when it was placed there for you to pick it up. With your cowardly look, you dare to steal from others?" Bang! After saying that, Emo Qingyun didn't say anything else. He grabbed Li Fan's head and crushed it domineeringly. Li Fan was dead. The number 1 genius of Jianhua sect was also dead. Seeing this scene, the remaining people of Jianhua sect were scared witless. They knelt down and kowtowed to Emo Qingyun. "Master, we were wrong. Please spare us. We won't do it again. No, from today onwards, I'll abandon evil and embrace good. I'll leave Jianhua sect immediately. I'll join Fog Pool sect now and work for them wholeheartedly." In an instant, all sorts of pleas and expressions of loyalty reached Emo Qingyun's ears. Dong 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 at this moment, while everyone was pleading for mercy, a series of fierce footsteps came from the depths of the forest. "Not good. Brother Emo, your fight just now seemed to have alerted the mammoth herd." Sensing the violent footsteps, Wang Quan's face was filled with fear. He hurriedly said to Emo Qingyun, "Brother Emo, not only do the mammoths have strong physiques, each of them has reached the intermediate level of god power. They're not something we can fight against. Let's leave this place quickly." "Alright." Hearing this, Emo Qingyun nodded and left with Wang Quan and the others. Although Emo Qingyun was very confident in his own strength, he wasn't arrogant enough to think that he could challenge a herd of mammoths. As for the Jianhua sect's survival, Emo Qingyun didn't care about them and left them to fend for themselves. "Don't leave us behind." Seeing Emo Qingyun and the other 4 leaving, the Jianhua sect's people changed their expressions and begged for mercy. However, before they could finish their words, a wave of billowing dust swallowed them up. After the Jianhua sect's people were swallowed up by the cloud of dust, the mammoths didn't stop and continued to chase after Emo Qingyun and the other 4. Just like that, a tug-of-war of pursuit began. 15 minutes later, Emo Qingyun and the others finally arrived at the outskirts of Mingfeng Mountain Range. "Quick, quick, quick. As long as we leave Mingfeng Mountain Range, the mammoth herd won't continue to chase after us." Seeing that they had arrived at the outskirts of the mammoth herd, a faint smile appeared on Wang Quan's face and his tense expression relaxed a little. After a while, Emo Qingyun and the other 4 finally left Mingfeng Mountain Range. "Brother Emo, where do you plan to go next?" Seeing that the 5 of them had finally escaped from the mammoth herd, Wang Quan revealed a smile of relief and asked Emo Qingyun about his plans. "I plan to find a place to refine the yin-yang infinite thunder fruit." In response to Wang Quan's question, Emo Qingyun didn't try to hide anything and directly told him his plan. After hearing Emo Qingyun's plan, Wang Quan pondered for a while and said to Emo Qingyun, "Brother Emo, the few of us are preparing to make a trip back to the sect. Why don't you come to our Fog Pool sect? When the time comes, I can arrange a place for you to focus on refining the yin-yang myriad thunder fruit." "Alright." After hearing Wang Quan's words, Emo Qingyun nodded with a faint smile and agreed to Wang Quan's suggestion. Coincidentally, he could also go to the Fog Pool sect to take a look and see how the Fog Pool sect was doing now. From the fact that the Fog Pool sect didn't turn to other godly mountains, it could be seen that the Fog Pool sect was still very loyal to the Heavenly Pool Mountain. If possible, Emo Qingyun hoped to protect the Fog Pool sect. Chapter 9:17 Tianjian Mountain. A young man with a broken arm with a gloomy expression walked slowly to Tianqi's sacred mountain with a chill all over his body. Who are you? Stop. Tianqi's sacred mountain is not a place where a waste like you can enter. Seeing the young man with a broken arm approaching, the guarding disciple of Tianqi's sacred mountain glared at the young man with a broken arm and shouted, "Waste!" Hearing the words of the guarding disciple, the young man with a broken arm immediately looked ferocious and said gloomily, "You are courting death." After that, the young man with a broken arm raised his left hand and directly choked the neck of the guarding disciple. Senior Brother Fang Yuan. After seeing the appearance of the young man with a broken arm, the two guarding disciples were frightened and sweated on their foreheads. They really didn't expect that the young man with a broken arm in front of them was actually the genius of Tianjian Mountain, Fang Yuan. Senior Brother Fang Yuan, please forgive us. We didn't mean it. Thinking of their words just now, the two guarding disciples panicked and hurriedly begged Fang Yuan. Crack! Fang Yuan directly chose to ignore the disciples begging for mercy and crushed his throat bone with his hand. After killing the guarding disciple, Fang Yuan continued to walk into Tianqi's sacred mountain with a gloomy expression. On the way, other disciples saw Fang Yuan with a gloomy expression. They all showed a look of awe and dodged aside. As long as they were not fools, they could see that Fang Yuan was in a bad mood now. It was better not to provoke him. If you went to find trouble with him at this time, it would be as if you were an old man who was tired of living and wanted to hang himself. What's wrong with Senior Brother Fang Yuan? Why is his right arm broken? Hush! Keep your voice down. Don't let Senior Brother Fang Yuan hear you. Otherwise, you will end up like Junior Brother Li Wei. By the way, isn't Senior Brother Iron Wing with Junior Brother Fang Yuan? Why didn't I see Senior Brother Iron Wing come back? Looking at Fang Yuan walking away, other disciples in the Tianjian mountain whispered. After a while, Fang Yuan walked into the conference hall of Tianjian mountain under the gaze of everyone. At this moment, Li He was not in the main hall. There were only a few elders and a few personal disciples in the main hall, discussing something. Junior Brother Fang Yuan, what happened to you? Seeing Fang Yuan walk into the hall, everyone in the hall was shocked and couldn't believe that it was true. Fang Yuan, the super genius of the Tianjian Mystic Mountain and the personal disciple of the Sword Master Li He, had one of his arms destroyed. This kind of thing was really hard for them to accept. It was not as simple as seriously injuring Fang Yuan, but a slap in the face of the Tianjian Mountain. Junior Brother Fang, who cut off your right arm? Tell me, and I'll get revenge for you immediately. That's right. Since he dared to injure the people of my Sky Sword Sacred Mountain, I will definitely flatten his sect. It would appear that we've been immersed in the Heavenly Lake Sacred Mountain for too long. Everyone has forgotten what happened to the Heavenly Lake Sacred Mountain back then. For a while, several senior fellow apprentices of Fang Yuan all showed gloomy expressions and said words full of killing intent. Li Shi, Yunhao, Lu Yu, Zhengkun. Calm down first and let Fang Yuan tell you what happened. Looking at the actions of the people below, an old man showed a solemn expression and motioned to them. This old man was Liao Xinghe, the Grand Elder of the Tianjian Mystic Mountain. His cultivation had reached the level of Junior Venerable, and his status in the Tianjian Mystic Mountain was second only to Li He. Yes, Grand Elder. Hearing Liao Xinghe's words, Li Shi and others showed a look of awe. They nodded and walked to the side to sit down. Fang Yuan, tell us what happened. Seeing that Li Shi and others stopped talking, Liao Xinghe turned to look at Fang Yuan and said in a serious tone. Yes. Fang Yuan nodded respectfully. He suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a deep voice, "This is what happened. On that day, Iron Wing and I went to find Mo Qingyun together. Unexpectedly, after we found Mo Qingyun in Kanglan City, Iron Wing, a heartless guy, betrayed the Tianjian mystic mountain and chose to submit to Mo Qingyun. Because he chose to submit to Mo Qingyun, I fought with Mo Qingyun next. Fang Yuan told everyone what had happened that day with exaggeration. At this moment, in Fang Yuan's heart, he resented Iron Wing to the extreme. What? Senior fellow apprentice Tai betrayed the Tianjian mystic mountain and submitted to Mo Qingyun? Senior fellow apprentice Tai is the top talent of our Tianjian mystic mountain. How could he be willing to submit to a guy with the cultivation of Heaven Gang realm? Junior fellow apprentice Fang, is there any misunderstanding? How could senior fellow apprentice Tai betray the sect? Hearing Fang Yuan's words, everyone still felt incredible and didn't want to believe it was true. This news was too unexpected and sudden for them. Could it be that my severed arm is fake? Hearing everyone's words, Fang Yuan asked them angrily. Everyone was silent for a while and didn't know how to refute. After all, Fang Yuan's broken arm was true. At this moment, when everyone was talking, a word without emotional fluctuation came into everyone's ears. Fang Yuan, come to my residence. I have something to tell you. Yes, master. After hearing this, Fang Yuan nodded and answered. Then he got up and left the conference hall. Near the Mingfeng mountain range. Mo Qingyun left the Mingfeng mountain range and quickly returned to the Misty Pool sect. However, Mo Qingyun and others didn't go far before a man covered with blood blocked their way. Friends, please send this jade slip to the Misty Pool sect. Seeing Mo Qingyun approaching in front of him, the young man was in a trance and handed a jade slip to Wang Quan. After saying that, the young man fainted. His breath was weak and he might die at any time. Senior fellow apprentice Jiang Wei. It's senior fellow apprentice Jiang Wei. Looking at the man covered with blood in front of him, Wang Quan was shocked. He quickly helped the man up and woke him up. Then he asked, Senior fellow apprentice Jiang Wei, what's wrong with you? What happened? Junior fellow apprentice Wang Quan, go to save junior sister apprentice Song Tsuemei and others. They were besieged by the Chixing Hall and the Flying Cloud League. Seeing Wang Quan in front of him, the young man showed an excited expression and said an urgent sentence. Senior sister apprentice Song Tsuemei, aren't they guarding the blood jade mine of the sect? Hearing the young man's words, Wang Quan and others were shocked and said angrily, the guys of the Chixing Hall and the Flying Cloud League went too far. They even joined hands to rob the resource mine of our Misty Pool sect. Junior sister apprentice Wanner, you and junior fellow apprentice Qin Kun take senior fellow apprentice Jiang Wei back to the sect first. After knowing what happened, Wang Quan told Sun Wan'er and Qin Kun. Then he turned to look at Mo Qingyun and asked, Brother Mo, the resource mine of our Misty Pool sect is in a critical situation. You are powerful, so I beg you to help us. Let's go. Mo Qingyun did not refuse Wang Quan's request and nodded indifferently. Thank you. Chapter 9:18 Sky Sword Sacred Mountain, outside a simple and crude cave. Master! After Fang Yuan left the conference hall, he came here directly. He stood outside the cave residence and saluted respectfully. Come in. An indifferent voice came from within the cave. The tone was still as calm as an ancient well. Hearing the words, Fang Yuan slowly walked into the cave residence. He walked to a middle-aged man who was not angry and sat down cross-legged. Seeing that Fang Yuan came to him, the middle-aged man's eyes suddenly widened, and there was a flash of sharpness in his eyes. This middle-aged man was naturally the owner of Tianjian Mountain, Sword Master Li He. Glancing at Fang Yuan in front of him, Li He began to check his wound. The more he looked, the more he frowned. Several kinds of perfect origin power? With Li He's eyesight, he could naturally see what kind of attack Fang Yuan's wound had suffered. After checking Fang Yuan's wound, Li He became silent. His expression began to be hesitant, as if he was thinking about something. Seeing that Li He didn't speak, Fang Yuan didn't dare to speak. He waited silently. For a while, the two people in the cave didn't speak, which made the atmosphere in the cave a little depressing. After a while, Li He seemed to make a decision. He raised his hand and took out a black jade box. He handed it to Fang Yuan and said, "There is a right arm of an ancient alien powerhouse. I got it in the depths of the Tianling tomb. It contains extremely amazing bloodline power. If you can integrate it, it will not only become your new right arm, but also let you get the bloodline power of the ancient powerhouse." Li He paused for a moment before continuing. "However, the bloodline power contained in this right arm is far too terrifying. Even with my cultivation, I don't dare to refine it rashly. If you want to fuse with it with your cultivation, I'm afraid you'll only have a slim chance of survival. As for what you want to do, you should consider it. I want to integrate the arm of this ancient alien powerhouse." Hearing Li He's words, Fang Yuan made a decision without hesitation. Seeing Fang Yuan's decision, Li He nodded with relief and said, "In this case, you can practice in seclusion with me in the following time." "Yes." Fang Yuan picked up the black jade box, got up and walked into the cave. He entered a stone room and began to practice. Seeing Fang Yuan's action, Li He did not say anything more. He did not ask about the iron wing from beginning to end. A moment later, miserable screams came from the stone room. It seemed that Fang Yuan was integrating the arm of the ancient foreign powerhouse. Mingfeng Mountain Range, Blood Jade Mine. After an hour of hurrying, Mo Qingyun and the other two finally arrived. Roar, 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 a series of ferocious roars came from the interior of the mine, causing the ground to shake continuously. What's going on? Why are there demonic beasts howling in the Blood Jade Mine? Hearing the deafening cries, Wang Quan's expression turned grave as he spoke worriedly. Then, Wang Quan sped up and rushed into the mine. Seeing Wang Quan quickly walk into the Blood Jade Mine, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and quickly followed behind him. Soon, tall and powerful demonic beasts with ferocious faces appeared in front of Mo Qingyun and the other two. At this moment, these demonic beasts were attacking some disciples of some sections. Judging from the clothes of these disciples, they seemed to come from 4 different sections. Senior Sister Apprentice Song. Soon, Wang Quan found the people of the Fog Pool sect among the 4 groups of people and rushed towards them. Senior Sister Apprentice Song, who was mentioned by Wang Quan, was not weak. She had reached the peak of the first level of the magical power and was the strongest among the disciples of the Fog Pool sect. At this time, she was fighting with a demonic beast that looked like a swordback dragon. It was hard to tell who was the winner. However, judging from Song Tsuemei's weak pneuma, she could not hold on for a long time. "Junior fellow apprentice Wang Quan, why are only 3 of you here?" Looking at Wang Quan, who came to her side, Song Tsuemei showed an anxious expression and asked Wang Quan, "Didn't junior fellow apprentice Jiangnan ask the elders for help when he returned to the sect? We met senior fellow apprentice Jiangnan on the way, so he didn't have time to report back to the sect." Wang Quan gave a simple explanation to Song Tsuemei's question and took out his battle axe to fight with the demonic beast. He said, "Senior Sister Song, I've already asked junior fellow apprentice Sun Wanner and junior fellow apprentice Qin Kun to escort senior fellow apprentice Jiang Lan back to the sect. I believe that the sect elders will come to save us soon." Hearing Wang Quan's words, the nervous expression on Song Tsuemei's face relaxed a little. At this moment, while everyone was fighting with the demonic beasts, Mo Qingyun looked at the demonic beasts with astonishment. Demonic beasts? It seems that the passage between the Demon Road and the Heavenly Soul Continent has been broken through. I just don't know where that passage is. Thinking that the demons of the Demon Road would invade the Heavenly Soul Continent in the near future, Mo Qingyun's heart became heavy. In the demon road, there were a total of 4 great demonic cultivators. They were sky demons, human demons, demonic beasts, and demonic beasts. Sky demons were native cultivators of the demon race. They were born with the bloodline of the demon race and cultivated demonic attacks to increase their cultivation. Human demons were cultivators who cultivated demonic arts and went berserk. They were cultivators who lost their minds and became murderous demons through and through. Demonic beasts were naturally demonic beasts that lost their minds. They were the same as human demons and only knew how to kill. But compared to human demons, demonic beasts were generally weaker. They were basically killing machines of the demon road. As for demonic beasts, they were the most special kind of existence. They were the descendants of the demon race and cultivators. They had the talents of both humans and demons. They were the most dangerous kind of existence and were extremely terrifying. After sweeping his eyes over the mine, Mo Qingyun frowned. He felt a strong aura coming from the bottom of the blood jade mine. After discovering this, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated. He immediately instructed Wang Quan, "Wang Quan, have the disciples of the Mist Pond sect follow me closely. I'll bring you all out of here. Otherwise, I'm afraid that a big problem will appear." "Okay." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wang Quan nodded and said to Song Tsuemei, "Senior Sister Song, all of you follow Brother Mo closely. He'll bring us out of here." Hearing Wang Quan's words, Song Tsuemei revealed a shocked expression. She felt that it was hard to believe. In Song Tsuemei's opinion, with her cultivation at the peak of the first level of the transcendent realm, she was unable to deal with these demonic beasts. With Mo Qingyun's cultivation at the peak of the 8th level of the Heaven Dipper realm, wanting to bring them out of the encirclement was a little too unrealistic. After a short moment of shock, Song Tsuemei's expression turned serious. She said in a deep voice, "Junior brother Wang Quan, these demonic beasts are extremely terrifying. We must not be careless. Let's find a corner and hold on together while waiting for the sect elders to rescue us." Chapter 9:19. Before Song Tsuemei could finish her sentence, her mouth was agape. She could not believe what she was seeing. Mo Qingyun held a colorless longsword in his hand. With a casual swing of his sword, he slashed out streaks of 3-colored sword light with a threatening aura. When the 3-colored sword radiance was sent out, it killed all the demonic beasts in front of it. Soon, Mo Qingyun's path was cleared. There were no more demonic beasts blocking the way. "Let's go." After clearing the demonic beasts, Mo Qingyun reminded Wang Quan and the rest with a serious look on his face. He then rushed forward. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wang Quan and the rest did not dare to hesitate. They quickly followed behind Mo Qingyun. Then, with Mo Qingyun leading the way, they rushed out of the blood jade mine. As for the disciples from the other sects, Mo Qingyun did not bother about them. He left them to fend for themselves in the blood jade mine. Seeing Mo Qingyun killing the demonic beasts, Song Tsuemei and the rest were shocked. They could not believe what they had just seen. How could a Heaven Dipper 8th level cultivator possess such terrifying strength? At this moment, she finally understood why Wang Quan believed that Mo Qingyun could lead them out of the blood jade mine. After a while, with Mo Qingyun leading the way, they finally arrived outside the blood jade mine. "Oh no, it's too late." When they arrived outside the blood jade mine, Mo Qingyun's expression turned solemn. He hurriedly instructed Wang Quan and the others, "Wang Quan, quickly take everyone away from here. A powerful existence is about to emerge." "What about you?" Song Tsuemei blushed slightly as she asked Mo Qingyun with a concerned expression. "I'll hold that guy back. You guys leave quickly." In response to Song Tsuemei's words, Mo Qingyun revealed a grave expression and told her his plan. "I'll stay and help you." Hearing Mo Qingyun's plan, Song Tsuemei bit her lip and a determined expression appeared on her face. No need. Mo Qingyun rejected Song Tsuemei's words without any hesitation. He continued, the dangers around the Mingfeng mountain range are unknown. It might not be safe for Wang Quan and the others to return to the Mist Pool sect. You should return with them and protect them along the way. Alright. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Song Tsuemei didn't say anything else. She nodded and said to Mo Qingyun, you be careful too. With that, Song Tsuemei led Wang Quan and the others back to the Mist Pool sect. Bang bang bang. Not long after Song Tsuemei and the others left, a series of noises came from underground, causing the ground to shake. After this series of noises, the shaking of the ground became more and more violent, causing the surrounding rocks to tumble and vegetation to collapse. Bang! With a loud bang, the nearby blood jade mine collapsed, and a blood-red figure flew out from it. Kakik! This old man is finally free. After flying out of the blood jade mine, the blood-red figure let out a carefree laugh and said, Moon River Emperor, did you think that you could trap this old man forever with such a small array? Little did you know that this old man used the power of the array to create blood jade ores in the surroundings, causing those greedy cultivators to come and mine the blood jade ores, weakening the power of your array bit by bit. The blood-red figure stood in the air and muttered to himself for a long time, as if he was venting the depression in his heart. After a while, the blood-red figure retracted his aura and sneered at the devil beasts below. He said, Brats of the Back Dragon clan, you did well this time. Today you saved this old man. In the future, this old man will bestow upon your clan a great fortune. This is bad. I didn't expect a great demon to be sealed at the bottom of the blood jade mine. Looking at the blood-red figure in the air, Mo Qingyun frowned and felt a strong sense of uneasiness. Just as Mo Qingyun was feeling uneasy, the blood-red figure above turned his head and looked at Mo Qingyun. He sneered. A Heaven Dipper Stage 8 kid actually didn't run away after seeing this old man. Interesting. This old man hasn't tasted blood for tens of thousands of years. Today, I'll use your blood to let this old man have a taste. Sizing up Mo Qingyun below, the blood-red figure revealed a cold smile. He turned into a bloody light and pounced at Mo Qingyun. So fast. Seeing the bloody light flash by, Mo Qingyun's expression changed and a sense of shock rose in his heart. The traceless demonic shadow followed him like a shadow. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun didn't dare to hesitate. 8 afterimages appeared behind him and dodged the blood-red figure's attack. Under Mo Qingyun's traceless demonic shadow, he finally managed to dodge the blood-red figure's attack by a hair's breadth. What an exquisite inherited martial art. I didn't expect you to be so capable. Seeing that his attack was dodged by Mo Qingyun, the blood-red figure let out a cry of surprise. After a short moment of surprise, the blood-red figure moved again and chased after Mo Qingyun. He smiled faintly and said, Kid, you can't escape from this old man's palm. You'd better obediently become this old man's delicious meal. This old monster. I wonder how long he has been sealed. To think that he still has such a dense blood chi. Sensing the tyrannical aura behind him, Mo Qingyun's mood became even heavier. He began to think of a way to deal with it. He thought to himself, this old monster has just broken through the seal. Right now, he only has the cultivation of the 7th layer of the divine ability realm. I must take advantage of the fact that his cultivation hasn't recovered to think of a way to get rid of him. Otherwise, once his cultivation recovers, it will be difficult for me to get rid of him. After thinking like this, Mo Qingyun didn't plan to hesitate any longer. He planned to use the transportation gate to get rid of the other party's pursuit. However, just as Mo Qingyun was about to use the transportation gate, a familiar beautiful figure appeared in front of him. After seeing this beautiful figure, Mo Qingyun's expression suddenly changed. His mood became even worse. That's right. The beautiful figure that appeared in front of Mo Qingyun was Morong Qinyu, who was lost by Mo Qingyun not long ago. Why is she here? Looking at Murong Qinyu in front of him, Mo Qingyun began to hesitate in his heart. He was considering whether to use the transportation gate to leave or not. Mo Qingyun was very clear in his heart. Once he used the transportation gate to leave, this blood-red figure would definitely chase after Murong Qinyu. I didn't think that I would actually meet a little girl from the Heavenly Demon Clan in the Heavenly Soul Continent. It seems that this old man's luck is really not bad. When Mo Qingyun saw Murong Qinyu, this blood-red figure also saw her. He immediately spoke a sentence of pleasant surprise. Human demon, a human demon who has recovered his consciousness. After seeing that blood-red figure, Murong Qingyu's expression suddenly changed greatly. Her expression revealed a hint of fear. According to her understanding of human demons, only after their cultivation reached the sovereign realm would human demons slowly recover their consciousness. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.